Well, good afternoon, everyone around the world watching here. This is the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan. I am Ryan Sage alongside judge and commentator Ryan Lantain. It is a beautiful yet very cloudy and typhoony day currently. We are expecting that there will be some weather this weekend. There's been a typhoon every single event this year that we've either had to be in the face of or in the wake of. But we are here at Okayama International Circuit. Used to be called the T1 Circuit all until 2004. The course was opened in 1990. And in 94 and 95, the circuit hosted the Formula One Pacific Grand Prix. Both events, coincidentally, were won by Michael Schumacher. And of course, there's been some great events here as well, like Super GT, Super Formula WTCC. And now, today, this weekend, the final round of the Formula Drift Japan Championship. We will see what factor the weather plays overall, but as the year started off, Ryan, with a huge dominant performance by Mad Mike, it has now started to swing into a much more tight battle between three competitors. We've got Shinji Minowa, who is just chasing Mad Mike by approximately 28 points, which is not a lot. And then we've got Andrew Gray in third place at 255. He's about 45 points away from Shinji Minowa. So the results definitely playing a role, but we want to know exactly what the judges are looking for, Ryan. So let's take a quick look here, and why don't you walk us through what we can expect in qualifying and just a general overview of the way things are judged here in FDJ.
Yeah, today, like you said, is qualifying. You can see the layout of the course there, start to finish. We use kind of a connector road between the main course, two different sections of the main course. And you can see here outside zone 1, we have inside clip 1, outer zone 2, outside zone 3, and then inside clip 2 working its way up to the finish line. And line and angle here are worth 30 points each, of course, and we have them divided up. 10 points for the first outside zone, and then 5 points for every other clip and zone throughout the course, giving you that 30-point total. We gave the extra points for that outside zone 1. It is a bigger zone. It's a vital zone to the rest of the track as well, so you can see the breakdown of points there. Line and angle 10 for the first zone, and then 5 for each of the rest, like I said. And then style, of course, is comprised of commitment and fluidity. 20 points each there as well, and that gives you the total 100 points for qualifying.
Now, Ryan, this is a little bit of a different event here at this track with regards to the number of participants here this weekend. There will be some upside-down smiley faces, some sad faces at the end of the day today, because we have 38 drivers trying to fill 32 spots.
That is correct. So this is for FD Japan pretty normal. We have more drivers than we do qualifying positions, of course. It's something that they are pretty accustomed to. We are going to watch qualifying here now. The surface is a little bit patchy. It rained overnight. It has not rained yet today, but it's a very humid day, so the track has not really had the opportunity to dry fully. You can see there on the screen the wet surface, and it just doesn't want to dry. It's very windy right now. It hasn't actually rained in quite a while, but there's so much humidity in the air that it just won't dry up. So that is going to play a definite factor in qualifying, as we do have an area on outside zone 1 where a lot of those hot tires with a high wheel speed have kind of not fully dried, but made it so that the tires will smoke a little bit through there. Yet when you come through inside clip 1 to outside zone 2 and 3, it's quite wet. So it's going to definitely play a factor in how these drivers are getting through the course. We saw a lot of spins in practice going from that dry to the wetter area, so it's going to be tricky.
And this is a course we've been coming to for Formula Drift Japan and also the World Championship for about 4 years now, I believe. It's a very high-speed course. You've got 4 transitions, so there's lots of areas after qualifying in the head-to-head matchups for chase drivers to attack and try to take away proximity. It's a beautiful course. We're up in the mountains here. I think the very first year that we came here, we actually had snow on the main day, which was a first for me and a first for a lot of us. But right now, as you said, Ryan, it's basically very similar to what we experienced in Okiabuki. Little bit of patchy conditions, still mostly wet, but no standing water. The course does drain pretty well, as opposed to areas in Okiabuki where we're up on the paddock area coming off the main roadway. A bit of a different setup here. A very well setup track here that's used for a lot of different forms of racing, and we're using the front straight on that large right-hand sweeper. Then you guys have put in that kind of a kickback area where we have an inside clip that goes off course, off the regular course, and kind of through a maintenance road that connects to the other side of the course. So that is one area where I think this track really is unique, is that you are using the professional circuit, but you're also taking advantage of a really nice paved area that actually is mostly used for maintenance and for the storage of maintenance vehicles.
Yes, exactly. That's typically walled off. We get a big crane in here and we move everything out of the way and make it open for us to get through, essentially. It's a good little surface, though. The surface is very similar to the rest of the track, so it's not like it's a big change in grip levels or anything like that. Of course, it can get a little tricky when it's wet, trying to get yourself up to that wall without having any issues. So it's a little bit tricky, but we can't have an easy track out here. We still have to make it somewhat challenging for them, and I think we have done a good job of that. Over the years, people say that this is one of their favorite tracks. The speed, the flow, everything about the way the track is laid out. It's very natural. It's almost racing line all the way through, other than that outside zone that we have at the beginning. But it flows really well, and the drivers like it because of that.
All right, well, first car off, Hidehiko Tsujita in the C33 Laurel. Don't see a ton of those. You can see the approach here, those 3, 2, and number 1 standing cones, the final point of initiation. Starting to flow out to that first outside zone. You can see that the speeds are down. We are seeing some smoke, very similar to Okiabuki. Very slippery right here, and it does get the best of him after a pretty good start, and that will be an incomplete run for run number 1 for car 219, Hidehiko Tsujita.
And that is the area that we've been seeing spins in practice, just because of the transition between the grip of that, not dry, but like I said, there's actually smoke coming off the tires there, and that makes the transition really, really difficult. Drivers are having to be a little bit more conservative in that area, but he was just a little too conservative, along with an over-rotation, so doesn't make it easy through that area, though. Definitely a challenge. Good-looking car, though. First time we've seen him this year.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see some of the individual event drivers come and participate and increase the number field. I think 38 is a good number to have for a competition like this. Anything over 40 tends to get a little bit kind of tough to get in, makes qualifying pretty long. It's nothing like back in the days where we used to see 60-plus drivers, and that just got really, really insane. But most of the drivers here have some competitive experience, pretty much know what they're doing there. But in these conditions, obviously it brings in another factor that is going to challenge a certain number of drivers. We have seen some drivers do really well in the wet conditions. Andrew Gray, Mad Mike, the guys who are leading the championship, have done well. And it looks like our next driver here also gets off to a bad start. I believe this is Taruaki Shimoda.
Another first-time competitor here in the series. Unfortunately, that's going to be a opposite drift or initiation situation for him. And unfortunately, we may see quite a bit of this in qualifying due to the slippery conditions here. The sun looks like it's trying to come out, so maybe this will start to dry up, but there are a lot of clouds, so I don't see the sun sticking around for too long. So these conditions may be sticking with us, unfortunately.
So that was the opposite drift there on initiation, Ryan. That's what you're pointing out.
That's it.
And you guys did mention in the drivers' meeting that because of these conditions, if you do make a mistake like that, continue to push forward. He obviously finished the remainder of the run, but it looks like that was just a bit over the line there in terms of going past the threshold.
Exactly. It was too much for us to overlook in terms of a mistake. What we're looking for is something that is chaseable by a chase driver. So qualifying is intended to set the bar for competition, and you're supposed to be running a high qualifying scoring run to get yourself into competition. So if that's not happening, unfortunately, we need to assess a zero. Yeah, that'd be very difficult to follow. He's straightened up for a significant amount of time there, but made an effort to get through the rest of the track, as we pointed out for them to do in the meeting. So at least he's getting comfortable with the rest of the track and using his time out there to get a feel for what the grip levels are, which is a wise thing to do, I think.
Well, for those of you watching the English broadcast either on YouTube or on the Formula Drift website, we should let you know that the weather is looking much more promising tomorrow. It has been changing pretty much hourly. We were expecting to actually run today's part of the competition a bit later, but it does look like the typhoon is going to make its presence felt, at least where we are, sometime around 2 o'clock. Now, before we move on to the next, before we talk more about that, let's move on to our next driver, Manabu Fujinaka, in the RX-7 FD3S. Decent start here so far. Let's see, we'll get our first non-incomplete run. Comes off that outside zone a bit early. You can see still struggling with the grip levels. Now coming through that center section, linking to the other side of the course. It gives you a good idea of how this course is laid out in general, and that final inside clip right past that yellow standing cone is your finish line. So it looks like you guys are going to judge that one, and Ryan will take a quick look at the replay here and see what mistakes were made.
Yeah, he had a pretty good initiation, but definitely had trouble with outside zone 1. You can see if they get near that rumble strip on the inside, outside zone 1 typically isn't very good, and you can see that he left it quite early there. He was off inside clip 1 a little bit. Outside zone 2, not too bad. Outside zone 3 could have been closer, but again, with the weather that we have in the track conditions, not a terrible run here, except for outside zone 1. It was really the worst part of the course. Could have done better through there.
One other addition to the broadcast, Ryan, not on our side of things, and it's a 70 for Manabu Fujinaka, is we've done something similar to what we've done with you, kind of dual duty with judging and also commentating, as we've done the same thing with the Japanese judge, Robbie Nishida, who's also giving explanations to the Japanese broadcast and also the general public here, which I think is really helpful, because one of the things that we've learned in helping explicate some of the things that are going on from the drivers' meeting and how that plays out on track, and you guys trying to give consistency in your rulings, is that we are adopting the Formula Drift USA rules in FD Japan, and so there are some nuances there, and it's good for the Japanese audience to kind of understand that as well.
Absolutely.
Tomonori Tasaka, next driver up, a classic vehicle. This is the AE85. Gets out to that outside zone, fills it pretty decently. That's probably the best we've seen so far. Good throttle control there. We'll talk a little bit more about the decel areas right before that second outside zone. Coming through the cutaway and switching it back around, and gets a pretty decent pull for run number 1. And as we said, 38 drivers, which means 6 spots are going to be eliminated as we fill the 32 field. And here he is on his replay.
So you can see his initiation was a little bit labored, maybe not what he was expecting on that initiation. A little bit of a bobble there. Going to get hit on the fluidity side of things from the style judge. And his line on outside zone 1 was, like you said, pretty solid. Just got in a little bit late, out a little bit early, but overall pretty solid there. Inside clip 1, outside zone 1, missed outside zone 2 a little bit, and was off of inside clip 2 here more than I expected. But again, dealing with those slippery conditions, getting a run together here and getting a score on the board will be more important than sacrificing something to try to get over to get that line and potentially spinning out. Or in these situations, you kind of have to let the car go where it's going to go, and just kind of hang on sometimes with the weather that they're having to deal with and the track conditions that we have.
So car 333, Tomonori Tasaka logs a 69 for run number 1. Now, Ryan, we have trended pretty consistently, not only in the U.S. series, but also here. The cutoff typically tends to be mid-70s. So drivers should probably be looking for that or better, obviously, to make it into the top 32. Our next driver up, Kazuya Matsukawa, also in the AE85. Car number 99. I believe this is the sister car to the one that just came up.
That is correct.
The team car. And he is underway out through the chicane. Big long run up here. Does get that nice early initiation, but you can see big e-brake pull. He's on the inside line here. He's going to have to shoot out wide to try to get out to this outside zone. A little bit of a wonky line because of that initiation that brought him in, but very similar to his teammate. He's able to keep the right amount of angle through that very slippery section of the course, now wrapping it through the final turn as he tries to connect this last inside clip. Also goes a little bit wide and through the finish line there. So 2 full pulls for the Hiroshima Toyota team Droopy. And let's take a look at the replay here, Ryan.
Yeah, so he had an issue on initiation. He didn't really get the car. He probably wasn't going as fast as he wanted to be going. Maybe he initiated a little too early. Whatever it was, he ended up shooting inside there just before outside zone 1, and it didn't allow him to get out where he wanted to be to fill that zone. He didn't have the momentum, the pace to get himself through the course, I believe, the way that he wanted to. But that's a challenge at the initiation point, where you need to balance the amount of speed you have coming in with the road conditions, the track conditions, and it's not always easy to make that balance when the track's conditions are changing. Even though he was in practice just not long ago, track conditions could have changed. It's not easy. You can be a few feet off of where you were previously, and the grip level is entirely different because, like I said, there's a lot of rubber laid down on outside zone 1 that is allowing for some tire smoke. But if you're inside a little bit, it may be completely different. It could be completely slippery there, and can catch you off guard and ruin your line and how you're going to get through it the rest of the course.
All right, so both AE85s log a 69. No bragging rights there. We'll have to wait till run number 2, but one of our females in the events here, Sayori Iwasaka in the S13. Slow approach here on initiation, playing it cautiously, gets it sideways. Big e-brake pull, front end wants to wash out, but she stays in it. Now pushing towards this outside zone. Decent job there, trying to manage throttle control. Lots of angle, almost loses it, but hangs on to it here. Very slippery. Can she make it through this section of the course? She holds on to it. And one more turn, and she will get a scored run.
Don't jinx her, Ryan.
And there you go. Pretty good execution there from Sayori Iwasaki with Team KRC with LFW. One of two females in competition this weekend, along with the wife of Shinji Minowa.
She is not competing this weekend.
Oh, she's not?
No.
Oh, bummer.
No, she is here spotting for Shinji, but she is not competing this weekend.
Do we know why?
She didn't enter in the beginning. She was only planned to do 4 of the 5 events. So
Gotcha.
I don't know if she wasn't prepared to compete on this track. I don't know if she's driven at this track. Maybe she did last year. My memory is not the best. But yeah, she never at any point had planned to compete here this weekend. So
That's why you need your notes, right? Because your memory is not good.
That is it. My notes are what gets me through life. Unfortunately, one time I didn't have them. That has stuck with me. That was like 6 years ago.
That's your calling card.
Yeah.
A 62 there for
62.
Sayori Iwasaki.
Like I was saying in the drivers' meeting, get a score on the board. If you bobble, you make a little error or whatever, just keep drifting. Try to get a score because of the conditions today and the fact that we have 38 drivers fighting for 32 spots. You don't want to be the driver with a 0 that didn't get in. So just try to get anything at all up there, and it might get you in.
Tatsuya Iha, our next driver up, a regular here in FD Japan, gets a nice initiation. Back on throttle, but trying to maintain the right line in that outside zone. Gets deep there. You can see smoke starting to come up. Aggressive driving here so far. Big angle, holds onto it, and you can see the front wheels staying static. Not a lot of movement around, and making it look pretty clean, all things considered here on run number 1 for Tatsuya Iha in the GRS 204 Crown. And a nice start there, Ryan. So this is one of the better runs we've seen. Highest score so far is a 70. Where is this going to go?
I believe this will be quite a bit higher than that. In terms of his commitment and fluidity, it looked pretty good. He was really quick on the run up there, initiated the car, got good fluidity throughout most of the course, did a good job on outside zone 1. The car looks settled. He looks confident. He looks like he knows what he's doing, and he's not scared about the weather conditions, which can bite you, but it did not bite him this time. The only error he really made here was on inside clip 2 at the just before the finish line. So overall, did a great job throughout the entire course. It's very windy up here right now.
Yeah, we are dealing, it seems like we never really get perfect conditions, there's always something. And in the case of FDJ, we've pretty much dealt with a typhoon every single time that we've been here. And if you follow the local Japan weather, you'll know that they've really struggled with a number of typhoons and also earthquakes. Tetsuya Ihe logs in 81, so great start. He is your new leader for the time being, and that should be enough to get him into tomorrow's competition, even after run number 1. So we're moving right along to our next driver. I believe that looks like a Skyline back there. Looks like a 32. Is that right? Yeah. And this is Go Kamiya. Get drunk. With Dorinichi and Wing 21. So he's making it real clear about what's going to be happening after the event. Yeah. Not 1 exclamation points, 2. Because that really ties it all together.
It really drives the point home, right?
Yeah. All right, here we go with Go. Down the front straight. Initiates right. Nice flick at that standing second cone. Big e-brake pull. But reaching out to that outside zone. A little bit shallow there, but you can see definitely has some notes of aggression. Oh, headed towards that second outside zone. A little bit of a wonky line, but you can't discredit it too much given the conditions. And it looks like he's going to hold it together here through the final turn. Just missing that last inside clip. Haven't seen anybody really connect that cleanly just yet. But he will get a scored run here. And he can't get drunk just yet, but maybe after the next run. So Ryan, break this down here on run number 1 from Go Kamiya.
Compared to the last run, his initiation was really good, but then from there it kind of falls apart. You can see the car's not really settled, moving around a little bit, doesn't get out fully wide to outside zone 1, which sends him wide at inside clip 1, and then he's late on outside zone 2, which sends him early into outside zone 3. I think the track is slipperiest up here, coming uphill, just before inside clip 2. You can see that most of the cars are washing out there. The grip level is not quite what they're expecting, and they kind of go offline.
So taking a big bang there from the line and angle judge. Coming in at a 63. Now, Ryan, who's doing what today?
I'm judging line. Robbie Nishida is judging style, and Indiana is doing angle.
All right. Now, according to my records, this looks like, I believe this is a new driver.
Kitashiba. We have seen him before, but
yes.
not this year.
And in this car, or no? I don't think so. Right?
That's a good question, too. We were debating that yesterday. Pick it up.
All right, well, in the Lexus IS, here he goes. Run number 1, Kitashiba Tomoyuki. Slow roll initiation, stays off the e-brake, feathers it. Good angle there coming out of turn 1. Pretty good job here. Nice, fluid, consistent line, dealing with the conditions pretty well. Transitions back around, gets to that outside zone. Rolling through the center section here, past the cutaway. And a final transition. Oh, no. Oh. And that was right before the finish line. It was looking like a really good run up until that point. And Ryan, let's see what happens here with Kitashiba.
Yeah, let's have a look. Good job on initiation. Like you said, wasn't grabbing a whole lot of e-brake, just a couple of little pumps there. Got himself out to outside zone 1 pretty smoothly. Great angle right there. Car looks settled. Looks confident in the car. Got pretty tight on inside clip number 1. Not a whole lot of angle there, but I think he's playing it safe. Big transitions here will tend to bite you because of the inconsistency of the surface. And this is where his big error came in here. The car over-rotates at inside clip 2. He manages to get over the line with a big correction, but I think it'll fly. He'll just have a deduction from Robbie.
So had he swung it around the other way more aggressively, it would have been an opposite drift and you would have been forced to go with an incomplete.
Exactly, yeah. He managed to get over there with angle. I'll bet a low amount of it, but that'll be something that we won't deduct a whole lot for.
All right, so you could see the good run up until that point, resulting in kind of an average run here overall, a 70. And we'll quickly move on to our next driver, number 35. Takahito Morozumi. This is a regular in the series. He's driving that DG5 S15 Sylvia. And it is really hard to tell in the weather pattern whether or not we're going to get any midst of sun here, but that would be really fun because this is such a cool track with the high speeds. Can get very smoky, and hopefully tomorrow we'll in the main competition we'll get the dry conditions, because this is one of the best tracks I think in the world that we go to in terms of overall drifting funness. All right, here we go on the initiation. Swinging out to outside zone 1. There's that smoke line starting to come up as he wraps through that first inside clip into that second outside zone. Now coming through the cutaway here. A little bit of movement on the front wheels, trying to manage his grip levels. Whoa, really cuts it tight there, but is able to bring it back around as he was sliding towards the grass. He'll get through that run cleanly. And Takahito Morozumi in the S15 will have a clean run. Let's take a look at the replay.
So on his run up to initiation, he's looking pretty confident up until this point. Gets the car sideways, and you can see there's a lot of handbrake pulling and not a whole lot of throttle at this point. But he does use the momentum that he's built into the car at that point to get up to outside zone 1. Pretty good job on inside clip 1. Gets the car all the way out to outside zone 2. Outside zone 3 was off very, very slightly. Had that bobble that you were telling us about earlier right there, and then goes really, really wide. You can see here if you go off of the commonly used line here at this track, it's the track is still wet on the racing line, let's call it, on the drifting line, but a lot of the water surface, the surface water's been taken off. And just to give you a quick one there, Morozumi with a 78. But if you go off of that, you're going to get into an area where there's more water on the surface, and the grip just goes away entirely. So it's hard to tell by looking where that grip is, but I'm sure these drivers can feel it a lot when they're inside the car. They know when they're off the line that they should be on, as he just was going up the hill towards inside clip 2.
All right, number car 328, Shinichiro Saito, our next driver up, and also a regular in FDJ. He's got that really good looking S13, the 180.
Not related to Daigo Saito.
Not related, yeah, we have to say that every time.
And there's another Saito competing today as well. He isn't related either.
All right, gets a really late initiation right at that last standing cone, kind of slow rolls it. Keeping it conservative, but trying to fill that outside zone. Managing the grip levels through that first inside clip. Now transitioning back around to that second outside zone. Head through the cutaway. The front end looked like it wanted to wash out there, but he stays in it. And again, another issue in having to pull some angle out. And you can still see, as Ryan was alluding to, areas of the course that are much more unpredictable, Gesundheit,
thank you,
than other areas of the course. But let's take a look here at this initiation from Shinichiro Saito.
So if you look there, he's got some corrections, a couple of bobbles, wasn't fully settled, but when he gets back on throttle for outside zone 1, the car looks a lot better. Gets the car rotated for inside clip 1. You can tell all these rotations that everybody's making are very controlled. Right here, it looked like he was going to go wide, maybe into the wall, so he lifted off the throttle there to stay off the wall, which then caused him to lose a little bit of angle, and the car straightened up slightly. So the style judge will definitely be looking at the commitment side of things, as well as the fluidity of the car as he lost angle. And then for Andy, who would have taken points off in that zone, which he did. He gave him a 2 out of 5, and he ends up with a 71.
Shinichiro Saito with Car Guy Racing sits at a 71. We still have only seen one driver break into the 80 so far. Takahito Morozumi in second place with the 78. And now we move on to our next driver. This looks like it is going to be Kenji Yamada. It is car number 2. And let's see what he can put down here in run number 1. We're about halfway through the first run with the 38 drivers that are here this weekend in competition. Kenji initiates, nice flick there, a little bit of adjustment on the front end, but now back on throttle, shooting to this outside zone. The line was pretty smooth there, nice transition back around. You can definitely tell a lot more areas where there's lifting and a bit of deceleration, and we'll talk more about that for head-to-head competition tomorrow, but you guys have identified the different decel areas, and there's not that many of them. There's really one tiny one at initiation and another one after inside clip 1 before or right around outside zone 2. But before we get to that, let's take a look at Kenji Yamada here and go back and analyze his first run.
You can see when he got to angle here, the car was going quite straight there, and then he got the car turned in as he got back on throttle. Did a pretty good job on outside zone 1. Inside clip 1 was just off slightly, kind of late in outside zone 2, and because of that was going to be very, very early on outside zone 3, which kind of got him to lift off the throttle there, and the car again straightened just like the previous driver. It's an area where you need to be set on line before going into that little section there connecting the little connector road that we have. There's a big wall there that has really wreaked havoc on a couple of cars in the past, so it's something that the drivers have to take pretty carefully just because of how dangerous it is through there. And Kenji Yamada with a score of 65.
All right, so 65 on the block for Kenji Yamada. It looks like Edmund Chan is not here this weekend. He was to be our next driver, and it's going to be another familiar face, Kazuki Hayashi at 86. So we've got a family of 3. I think these guys are all pretty much on the same team, right? You got the 285s and the 86 here, the new version. Kazuki Hayashi, here we go. Nice approach here, e-brake pull, still on it, lets it go, back on throttle, swinging towards that outside zone. Back on throttle once again, you can see the smoke line developing. Nice line through that second outside zone, through the cutaway now. Good angle here. Oh, pulls a little bit out, tiny little bit of adjustment, a mistake, but you can tell overall the confidence level seems to be there. And the Japanese commentators seem to like it. We'll see where that puts him for run number 1 for Kazuki Hayashi.
So looking as an initiation, gets the car to angle nicely. Long e-brake pull though as he comes towards outside zone 1. Did a not bad job in outside zone 1. Got in a little bit late, left a little bit early, but overall did a good job while he was in there. Outside zone 2, did a good job. Outside zone 3, much more confidence going in there than the last couple of drivers. Did have that little correction there, exiting that little connector road, but as he was coming up towards inside clip 2, the car was settled, the car looked good. Wasn't off too much of inside clip 2 and got over the finish line with angle.
All right, so all 3 judges with their scores in. Just waiting for the graphic to go up here. And it's a 78 for Kazuki Hayashi. So a nice start for him. That should be enough to get him in overall, so he'll go into run number 2 with some confidence.
And hopefully by then a dry track.
That's right. Definitely getting a good score on that first run, important with the track conditions changing as we see the sun starting to peek out a little bit now. Ikyo Saito.
The other Saito.
Yep. Let's see what he's got here. This is one of many JZX 100s and 90s in FD Japan. Nice flick there on initiation, back on throttle pretty early there, big angle, shooting to that outside zone. Like the line that he drew there, through that inside clip. And a nice solid run. He's going to be on a pretty tight line through the cutout. So we'll lose a few line points there, but overall this performance seems to be pretty good overall, all things considered. And starting to see a bit more smoke starting to derive from the tires of these drivers. Let's take a look here at number 73, Saito, on his replay.
Really nice initiation. The way the car snapped to angle was pretty impressive considering the track conditions. Got back on throttle really well. Did a great job on outside zone 1. Could have stayed in it a little bit longer, but was deep into it where he was. Inside clip 1 was okay. Outside zone 2 didn't quite fill it. And then what happened here is he had a tight line at outside zone 3. It looked like he was maybe trying to play it safe through there, which might pay off for him. He's going to get a score here. It'll probably be enough to get him into the show. But his line and his angle definitely going to suffer through that area. But it could be a safe bet just to get himself a score with a 78. Like you said earlier, pretty confident that that'll get you in the show, no problem at all. And at that point, now he can go and lay down a better run if he wants to take the risk of going really close and aggressively towards outside zone 3.
Well, starting to see the sun peek out a little bit here. Clouds kind of moving and letting the sun give us a little bit of warmth and hopefully a much drier track, but it will still remain relatively patchy until we get to full dry, obviously. Car number 67, Akihiko Hiroshima, up next as he awaits his turn here. Run number 1. We are more than halfway through, it looks like. Run number 1 in qualifying. 2 runs overall to go. Top 32 move on into tomorrow's competition. And Hiroshima, nice initiation there. He pushes way wide as he tries to find that line. Is able to connect that outside zone pretty deeply. Nice aggressive driving here. Points it towards that outside zone. Just goes off course a little bit, loses a little bit of angle, and is not able to reach fully out to that second outside zone. We haven't really seen anybody do that perfectly just yet. And you can see how it also pushed him a little bit wide there in that final inside clip. It seems like that second, or the third outside zone rather, Ryan, is really tricky. You got to get that line set up properly from the second outside zone. And it does seem to be an area that is quite challenging to drivers.
Yes, I believe it is. Did a good job here at outside zone 1. Got the tire right on the rumble strip through a good portion of that zone. Inside clip 1, I was off a little bit. Good rotation. Could have been snappier there at outside zone 2, but we know what the conditions are like there. So I think playing it safe in the way that he did is probably the smart move. It could have been wider at outside zone 3 and okay at inside clip 2. So overall, a solid run that'll get him into the show, no doubt, with an 82.
Breaks into the 80s. So yeah, that is our second participant with an 80 so far. And he is, looks like he's going to be our new leader.
Well, would you look at that, Ryan? 82.
So 82, that will definitely not hold, but it's a good start here at Yoshimi Mori.
Speaking of holding, look at all that tape.
Yeah, holding it all together, one of the older drivers in the series, and you see a lot of guys in the series, very diverse young drivers, 17, 18 years old, and much older than that, so a lot of passionate drifters out here. Mori starts off with a pretty good initiation, swinging out wide this outside zone, trying to fill it. Great throttle control. Nice angle through that first inside clip. Looks like he's got too much. Get back on throttle. Get back on throttle. Oh. If the conditions were just right for that to maybe fly, had he had the right line through that center section,
yeah, he could have maybe made it work.
Could have maybe made that work.
That was a big stall up, though. That was he almost came to a stop there.
Yes, it would have been an unchaseable lead.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, I know, but it would have made it through. You're right. He almost got through there. It was impressive that he was able to hold it the way he did. So you can see here outside zone 1, got out pretty wide, left a little bit early, but that's kind of seems like the thing of the day today with the weather conditions. Got on throttle really hard there after rotating, but unfortunately just had an opposite drift through that section, straightened up too much, and he managed to get through the rest of the course. So.
If you're going to do that, if you're going to Denofa it through that section, you kind of have to do the full Denofa commitment, which means like an incredible amount of speed so that you can push to that area where you can get back on throttle and still not have to pull angle out of the car and drive straight.
That's correct. Now you've just made Denofa into a verb, first of all, and second of all, this was not as purposeful as what Denofa would have done.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
Denofa would have, if he had made an error earlier on, he'd say, okay, this is where I'm going to have a little bit of fun, do a little showboating for the crowd. I think Mori was definitely trying to put together a scored run here.
But I want to be supportive of the Denofa thinking.
Yeah.
Let's shoot for that, and let's fall a little bit short, but let's shoot for that.
Yeah,
I want to see somebody do it, connect it at that speed where it would be a chaseable lead,
yeah,
and the judges would say, great job, and pat you on the back.
It's a fine line to walk, Ryan.
Yoshino, our next driver up. This looks like it is the HCR 32 Skyline. You can see that sun peeking out a little bit short there on that first outside zone through that inside clip. Just dropping a tire there, pushing out wide. Has to pull some angle out of it as he sweeps through that final turn. And he will get a scored run. So not a lot of incompletes. 3 out of the first group of drivers that we've seen so far. And we saw many, many more incompletes in Okayabuki under similar conditions. So guys definitely improving. Let's take a look at this run.
Yeah, a little bit of hesitation on initiation, but you can see a little bobble between outside zone, or sorry, initiation and outside zone 1. Came off outside zone 1 a little early. Didn't have quite the dynamic transition here, but was late on outside zone 2, which you can see here. He went way wide very, very early on outside zone 3. Had to take some angle out of the car, correct the line, slow down quite a bit, but made it through the course, and we'll get some deductions on the style, angle, and line portions through that area, but overall we'll get a score at least, and we'll get himself into top 32.
All right, so respectable start there, a 74 for Sayuji Yoshino. And another driver that we saw last round in Okayabuki, Hiroki Vito in the S13. I believe he's up next. Yep, there he is. And just to give you guys an idea, well, let's watch this run first, and then I'll give you a little schedule update. All right, so Vito starting off, initiation just past that third standing cone. Out to that outside zone. Nice line there, just running it right on the curbing. Now through that first inside clip and that second outside zone. Good angle through the cutout. Smoke line really starting to become apparent now. And Hiroki Vito, a nice start here for his run.
I like that. You can see drivers are getting more confident. Maybe the track is drying up, and we're getting some favorable conditions here for some good qualifying runs. So he had a great initiation, got the car to angle quickly. On throttle, I think he did one of the better beginnings of outside zone 1. Definitely left it a little bit early. And he had a good transition there to outside zone 2. We're seeing now that it's possible to do a good transition there, get out to the zone, and draw a good line from zone 2 to zone 3 before coming up the hill. He did a great job, was pretty darn close on all of his clips and zones, only had a couple of little areas where he was off. I saw the style judge giving him thumbs up during that run, and he ends up with an 87, proving that his confidence is showing through, and Robbie did notice it as the style judge. I think that was his highest style score at 32 so far.
All right, so the marker has been set. It's an 87 for Hiroki Vito. The Top Tool team has got to be really happy with that performance. That will definitely get him into the top 32 tomorrow. And we'll move right along to our next driver, number 55, Toshiharu Kazama, one of the power vehicles. Here we go. See how he performs here in his S15. A little bit of struggle on initiation. It falls off the left-hand side of the course. Does push out to that outside zone. Now coming into the inside clip. Drops a tire there, pushing out wide. He's getting up to that wall. He does need to make an adjustment, and he goes off course. And I think that may have surpassed the threshold. You can shake your head, yes or no. And it's a yes.
Yep.
And so that will be an incomplete. Let's have you go through this, Ryan, and tell us what happened here. It looks like you just came out a little bit too hot on outside zone 2.
Even on initiation, things were a little bit off. If it's like anything, if you're off something a little bit early, it can kind of throw the rest of the course off. You can see part of the track drying there as the sun hits the track, but he was off outside zone 1 early. He went one tire off in outside zone 2, which sent him wide, and unfortunately messed up his entire line. He ended up going 4 tires off, 3 tires off there, and was not ideal through that section. And just being shifting everything a little bit further, so he was not on the right line through outside zone 2. He dropped a tire, went long on that zone, which sent him towards that wall at outside zone 3 way early. Had to straighten up, take away angle, and then it ruined his line through there. Sent him off track on the inside going uphill.
All right, Ryan, well, we're getting the signal here now in FD Japan. We take breaks that are 2 minutes and 5 minutes in duration. This is one of our 5-minute breaks, so grab yourself a drink wherever you are across the world. We'll be right back here for the final round of the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship here at Okayama International Circuit. Welcome back, everyone. Here we are, round five of the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship. This is the finals here at Okayama International Circuit. More and more of the sun just coming out. If you're joining us, we're under rainy conditions. Yes, Exotic Pro Player, I can give you a shout out. But it is about halfway through qualifying of run number 1. So we have a second run to go after that.
It's drying up nicely out there, Ryan.
And so far, the leader of the field is car number 3, Hiroki Vito, with an 87. Have not seen anybody break into the 90s yet, but I'm sure that we will. Usually scores in the mid-70s will pass you through. This is a 38-car field, down from 44 to 38. From a few drivers that had some other obligations. And one driver that we've seen consistently throughout the season is Benjamin Chiam, who makes his way, I believe, from Singapore. So here he goes on his initiation, starts off, floats it out, tries to get to this outside zone. You can see definitely a lot more smoke being generated here in this Supra vehicle. Just dropping a tire, but pushing out, trying to get wide out to that final outside zone. And nice. Now, Ryan, give us a quick reminder as you give an evaluation here of Benjamin Chiam and his run, how you guys treat the rumble strips and the outside zones in terms of filling it completely, what you can get for full points, et cetera, et cetera.
So we're looking for tires on the line when there's an edge of track. We want them on the rumble strip if the rumble strip is there. So right here, Benjamin gets right to the edge there, so he got about an 8 for that because of not totally filling it and not from start to finish as well, being all the way wide. But you can see a couple of corrections here and there from Benjamin. He goes a little bit wide there, has to stall up, and I would expect his bumper to be a little bit closer to the inside clip number 2 there to get a full 5 points, but he did get a 4 for the amount of closeness that he had to that inside clip.
So an 81 for Benjamin Chiam. And so just to clarify, back bumper versus wheels at the edge of the course, similar in points if there are no rumble strips, like say in outside zone 2?
No, for the line, I prefer to see the tire on the edge of the track.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely what I want to see from the line side of things. When there's a rumble strip, I typically give the rumble strip as a freebie, if you will. You know, like get to the edge of the track. If you get your tire on the rumble strip, it's totally okay.
All right. A lot of fans watching from all over the world as we move on to our next driver here, Yusuke Kuzava in the 86, a regular in the series. You can see those dry spots definitely starting to come up here. Still not many drivers filling that final outside zone. Lots of fans from all over. Fans from Ireland watching. Looks like Tom Walsh is watching us out there. Typically would not do this if we were publicly live, but because we're contained in the live stream, I think it's probably going to be okay. And people tell me fan engagement is good.
The experts say, Ryan.
Yeah. Yusuke Kuzava. What do you got here, Ryan?
I've been playing a little video game on my phone, and this looks like a car from the video game with the tire stickers. It looks really great. Outside zone 1 did a good job. Inside clip 1 could have been tighter there. He slowed down where he's not supposed to. So in a tandem situation, that would be considered slowing down outside of a decel area, but I believe it had to do with the surface changing, as outside zone 1 is dry and inside clip 1 is still wet right now. So drivers are still having to deal with the changing conditions on the track. It's not fully dry yet. The areas that are dry are fully dry, but there are areas that are still sort of wet on the track.
Yeah, this is not the dry, wet conditions of, say, like a Long Beach, where you have the variable conditions where you go from concrete to asphalt to pavement, where it's just completely unpredictable. There is some predictability here, but you're still dealing with areas that are a little bit more slippery than others that haven't had the grip laid down. We did get some grip down yesterday in practice, so that, you know, is, I don't know if that's helpful or not. Probably not in some areas where it's much wetter.
Yeah, the problem here is just the amount of water that is in some areas, whereas in others there's none at all. It's truly going from fully dry to partially wet, so it's not easy.
Kazuya Iizuka, after a 78, is logged by Kuzava. Throwing it out there, almost getting off course. Big angle as he leaves that outside zone through that inside clip. Now wrapping through that second outside zone, trying to shoot wide here. Oh, no, 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 no. And that's what we were just talking about. Those areas that are kind of an in-between. And he will not be able to finish the run. So Kazuya Iizuka and the S15 will have to settle for an incomplete, and the pressure will be on for run number 2.
Yes, it will. That is an area right there where you can see the visible difference in the track surface due to some of it being wet, some of it being dry. Outside zone 1 is the best area we have right now for being completely dry. You can see the smoke coming up, but as soon as they get to inside clip 1, I'm sure the drivers are in the car, lifting off the throttle, tensing up, going, oh no, there's zero grip here right now, and the car kind of feels like it's floating out and not able to grip the surface, so he does get a 0 for that and incomplete, fortunately. But that's how these conditions are. You go one area, you're full throttle, fully committed, and then the next area you're off throttle, just letting the car kind of float, hoping that it finds traction again at some point in time.
All right, so one of the typical drivers we would have would be James Tang. He is under some obligations for something back home, so we will be missing him here this weekend. And many of you fans that are old school drifting fans, I mean really back to the beginning, will recognize this driver. This is Katsuhiro Ueno, and he is making a rare appearance here. We've seen him every now and again do certain events, and he has come out here for the final round in his S15. Known for the 86 back in the days, drove an S15 in the World Championship, and definitely caused some damage over there. Let's take a look here as he gets a start. Throwing it out to that outside zone aggressively. Nice transition there, keeping it clean. Back on throttle, shooting, trying to go wide. This is where we've seen some drivers lose some grip, but he takes that tighter approach. He'll get a full pull there. And so the legend, Katsuhiro Ueno, gets a nice first run, and we'll see how you guys score that. Ryan, here's the replay.
It's one of my higher line scores so far. Great job in outside zone 1. He filled it pretty much from start to finish. Just got one tire over the rumble strip slightly, but I would say very committed through that section. Really good job. Inside clip 1, nice and tight. Good rotation right on the edge of the track at outside zone 2. Outside zone 3 could have been a little bit deeper, but from what we've been seeing, I believe that was one of the best lines we've seen through there so far. Pretty tight on inside clip 2. Had his bumper kind of right at the edge of the rumble strip, so about a 4 out of 5 there. So overall, only a few points knocked off for line, and it's going to be my highest score so far on line. And we'll see what we get from the angle.
Oh, an 85. I love the two different headshots from Ueno.
Oh, yeah,
we had the nice clean cut, and then we had more of like the mad scientist.
The blown out look.
Yeah. Very exciting
for him. I like that look better. It makes me, as a competitor, if I was driving against him, it would make me fear him a little bit.
Yeah, you'd have a little bit more respect for him.
Yeah, I'd go, oh, that guy's a little crazy.
All right, so Katsuhiro Ueno, a nice score for him, puts him up in the top 3 so far, and it's going to be on my list at least. I can't see down at the start line, but it looks like Daichi Oshiro.
That is correct.
In the JZX 100 Mark II, another regular appearance for him. And green light means go. Here we go. Through the chicane, looks like he's coming out pretty aggressively here. Snaps it from that first last standing cone back on throttle. You can see the cars really drop off, and then he goes off course there, hits that beginning marker of that outside zone 1. And it's not going to be enough here. He was definitely getting real close to an incomplete on that first turn, but spins out and solidifies it there. So Ryan, just so fans know, how would you guys have judged that first outside zone? How do you completed the run?
Well, it looked like a big slowdown. We just have a small slowdown area, but at the beginning there at initiation, you can see that he came to an area where he had a lot of angle, and the momentum probably wasn't there. So either it would have been a big hit on style. We would have had to talk about that one together, had he made it through, because that was something that has occurred in the past where a driver was lifting and it caused a big problem with the chase driver through that area. It's when you're trying to be committed in the chase position, it's difficult to do that when the lead car is not slowing in the right area. They're slowing down in strange areas where you're not expecting. So with proximity, that makes things difficult. So we would have had to talk about it, but it may have been okay. Depends on the majority kind of rules, because he kind of maintained momentum through there, so it would have been hard to say.
It is interesting that you mentioned about talking about it. You guys, when you're doing your actual judging of the individual criteria that you're looking at, and also when you're doing head-to-head matchups, you guys really don't converse unless you're asked to converse about whether or not something is an incomplete, or when more particular, you guys talk about whether or not somebody's at fault, right? Because we have to get a majority vote on that. That's typically when you guys converse. Yeah, in a situation of fault, if there's a collision and there's damage and somebody needs to be given time opposed to taking a 5-minute competition timeout. Koichi Yamada, another regular here. Pretty decent initiation as he swings into this first outside zone. Nice smooth line there, a little bit of adjustment, hits that inside clip, big angle, and not going to be able to pull it off. So we've seen that area really play a role in some of the bigger mistakes that we've seen. And for Amagai, a pretty solid driver, seems to be a little bit out of character there. So got to imagine the transition from the regular pavement to the crossover pavement, probably still a little bit unpredictable. So let's see what happened here.
Yeah, it looks like there's water on the track still. We're in outside zone 1, fully dry right now. It looks great. There's smoke being produced, rubber being put down, but right there, if you get on that white line on the outside of outside zone 2, that's an area that can get pretty slippery, it looks like. The grip level has not risen back up. It's still wet. You can actually see it from here. And hopefully now that the sun's out, that will dry up quicker.
Sun. And we did have a prayer for the sun.
Did we?
Didn't Mr. Iwata get a prayer guy?
Oh, yeah, he talked to one of his friends who passed away recently. He sent him a message, and he said that he came through for him because the weather really cleaned up. Considering we were supposed to get a typhoon through here,
right?
I believe this is a big step up from a typhoon right now.
Masakazu Hashi, our next driver up. Snaps to it, doesn't get a full lock there, or the biggest angle. Struggling a little bit here, trying to find the grounding he needs to pull through on this run cleanly. Does manage to get through that section of the course, but is on a very tight line. Does not reach out to that third and final outside zone. Snaps it back around to that final inside clip. And he will get a full pull, but making a couple mistakes along the way. So car 202, Masakazu Hashi has run number 1 in the books.
Looked like he had a little bit of trouble at initiation. He had a long handbrake pull there, like you said. The car bobbled, didn't quite have the angle that he should there. Didn't fill outside zone 1 fully. Very low angle by inside clip 1. And you can see he's playing it safe. He's not really rotating the car very aggressively to very high degrees of angle. Didn't go all the way out to outside zone 3. Did a better job coming up the hill here. A little bit more on throttle, a little bit more aggressive. But the early stages there didn't look great.
69 from Masakazu Hashi. Oh, they're disappointed that we didn't do a joke about Amagai.
I did one last time and it fell pretty flat, so I stopped that play on the Amagai because you said I'm a guy, and then I was going to say something about it, but I kind of held back.
Okay.
I apologize to everybody out there. We left that joke on the table.
This comedy is not the strong suit of us over here.
No, that is not what I'm known for. I am known for forgetting my notes.
Daisuke Haru, our next driver up in the S15. Much better initiation this time around. Lets it float out. Now he's back on throttle. Shoots out to that outside zone. Gets outside the rumble strips. Hits that first inside clip. Nice transition here. Decent angle. He's going to push to that outside zone, but not completely out there. But overall, a pretty decent start here in run number 1. And he will finish it up as he gets a full pull there. Let's take a look at the replay from car number 85. Typically
aggressive runs from this driver. He's typically fairly committed. You can see that through this run. Gets himself out to outside zone 1. Just drops the tire a little bit over the rumble strip, but nice job filling that zone. Off of inside clip 1 a little bit. Did a good job right on the line there. Even though other drivers were spinning out, getting on that white painted line on the outside of the track, he managed to get through pretty well and did a good job on throttle and committed throughout the rest of the run.
All right, so waiting for scores to drop here for Daisuke Hara. A lot of predictions coming in. Yes, I think it could be around there. It's an 86, so a nice score for him. That's going to put him in the top 3 with Vito and Ueno. It'll put him in the top 2, actually, so nice for him. Inoue Takashi, our next driver on the list. Let's see if it is. It is. Driving that S15, car number 88. Clouds still moving out, sunshine, and so good news for us. Right at that second standing cone, a little bit of trouble with the initiation there. Back on throttle after the float. Uh-oh. Pull some angle out of the car, had a big hiccup there. I want to go back and take a look at that from the other angle. Now through that second outside zone, into the third, through the cutout. And the final turn, he wraps it back around, just nicking that inside clip. And finishing up there. So Takashi Inoue in the S15 does have a little bit of trouble. Some drivers still struggling with that initiation. Let's take a look here, Ryan, and see what little scrutiny we can give here on run number 1.
Yeah, he had an issue with the initiation. You can see the car bobbling quite a bit, got way inside on that rumble strip, which is not where you want to be. Did not fill outside zone 1. The angle could have been better through inside clip 1. The rest of the course came together pretty well for him. He was on throttle. It looks like it's drying up nicely now, and drivers can be much more confident in getting the car into inside clip 2 just before the finish line.
All right, so as the weather is improving at the moment, we wait for the score from Inoue. A 71, so he'll definitely want to improve that. A lot of points left on the table there. And it looks like our next driver up is Yoshitaka Agony, in one of 2 or 3 RX-7s in the series here this weekend. And we are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're in the final 10 drivers of run number 1. So before our next commercial break, we'll get all the way to Minowa Gray and Mad Mike Widett. Those are the 3 drivers that are really fighting for the championship. But now we turn our attention to Agony. Pretty decent job there. A long float after that. He gets back on throttle, gets out to that outside zone. And Ryan will definitely want to talk more about that. You guys really expressed, almost in the front end starting to wash out there through that center section. And Agony struggling a little bit, but is able to pull a run together. We're seeing a lot of drivers in these wet conditions. I just wanted to point out, after they initiate, they just kind of let it float, and then back on throttle. And you guys really expressed how the decel area there is very, very minimal. So is that going to change if the conditions change, or how would you guys judge that in head-to-head?
Well, definitely not something we want to see. We want to see the drivers back on throttle early, and it's going to give them a big advantage if they can do that. If they're not doing that, then it's going to be held against them. So it's something that they shouldn't be doing through that area there at all. And again, the only section they should be slowing down is at slightly at initiation, and then just before outside zone 2.
All right. So yeah, we have definitely seen some really interesting runs here in the past, especially in head-to-head matchups with this long run-up where you really have to fully commit, and there can be some contact there. And it's a 69 for Yoshitaka Agony. Probably not going to be enough, so he'll want to improve on that. Tadahiro Fukada, our next driver up in the Tanabe SSR, Team Dunlop JZX 100 Mark II. Tanabe. My friend in high school used to, that's how he would pronounce it. Every time he would like get a part, you want to make sure that it had the right emphasis on it. Tanabe. It's good. Not Tanabe? All right, so here we go. Fukada back on throttle. Nice smoke line. You can see the different permutations of the smoke line as the course gets drier. The drivers are making those adjustments. Here we're not seeing that much smoke come up. It still is a little bit slick, but in that final outside zone, you can see those dry patches starting to become more prominent, and Fukada, veteran driver in the series, starts off his first run pretty cleanly there. Let's take a look at the replay here from Tadahiro Fukada.
I believe he did a good job. Outside zone 1, filled it really well. Just got one tire barely over that rumble strip, which is, in my eyes, not a big deal. Look at how well he gets through there. The car's very settled, not a lot of corrections at all. The car just, the front wheels are just pointed, and that's it. He's on throttle through the majority of the course. He slowed down where he was supposed to right there. Gets the car rotated nicely here coming up the hill. Nice and tight on inside clip 2. And comes over the finish line with angle. Can't say a whole lot bad about that. It's tied for my highest line score, so I think he's going to do pretty well.
Making claims, 85 for Tadahiro Fukada. That ties him for third place at the moment. Ties are broken with the second qualifying score. The driver's log as the first tiebreaker. And this is a kid that I think a lot of you guys will really, really like. There are rumors that he is trying to make more of an international play for himself in future years, maybe even next year. Kanta Yanaguida, the young kid, an amazing talent. And
one of your favorite drivers, I believe, right?
One of my favorite, yes. I really love watching him drift. He's very aggressive and young. And reminds me of Kengushi. So Yanaguida starting off pretty strong here. Nice job on that inside clip. Big angle here, holds it through. He's going to be on a tighter line, so he's going to miss out on some line points there. Front end almost washes out. So again, we're still seeing a lot of drivers have trouble with that last section there coming through the cutout. But he will get a full pull there without achieving an incomplete, which is the most important thing. But let's see where the score comes in at as car number 57, Kanta Yanaguida, logs his first run.
Yeah, it looked like he had either in the wrong gear or just the engine kind of died out on him a bit there going to outside zone 2. Did a good job here on outside zone 1. Filled it for the most part, left a little bit early. Good job on inside clip 1, and right here you can hear him going on the throttle, a couple of clutch kicks, but the car just didn't get to angle. It sounded like the car wouldn't rev up. I don't know if it was just kind of over gripped, gripped up in that area and couldn't get the tires to spin the way he wanted them to. But unfortunately it caused him to, since he wasn't on throttle, not be able to get out wide to outside zone 3. So that'll be held against him on the style side for sure. Angle definitely, as it was quite low going through that area. And his line suffered quite a bit as well.
So 74, kind of a middle of the pack run for him. He'll want to improve on that. You can see the deductions across the board from the line angle and style judges. Hayato Miyoshi. Now this guy has a tendency to qualify very high. He's a dynamic driver. He loves that big snap initiation. Holds a lot of angle. Here we go, Miyoshi. Doesn't get that full pop, but you can still see back on throttle, nice and early, reaching out to that outside zone. Almost goes off course, has to make an adjustment there. Through that inside flip a little bit wide. Uh-oh, big angle, not gonna hold it. And another driver falls victim to that section of the course. And Ryan, you talked about the painted lines that are much slicker than the course, of course, especially in these conditions. And it looks like it's gonna be another incomplete here for one of our top drivers, Hayato Miyoshi.
I noticed right on initiation here, he didn't quite do the initiation where you kind of get the car to hang out. As he initiated, the car dove in a little bit and then had to try to get it to maintain the line that he was hoping for right after that. Went off a little bit at outside zone 1. And just on his transition here, he ended up dropping tires and the car just spun very, very quickly. Lost control in a pretty aggressive way right there. But hopefully this track does get up to the amount of grip that we need from it, and I don't know how it isn't yet with the sun that's shining down here, but still some wet patches on the track. So we've got the track cleanup out there now, picking up bumpers and clipping points and stuff. So we'll see how long that takes, but we're almost done, I think.
Well, everybody should know this driver. If you followed FD Japan, I think he's got 2 #1 qualifications under his belt. Wataru Matsuyama.
He was looking great in practice yesterday.
Look, he does really well in the single run qualifying. He hasn't had the success that he's probably wanted in the head-to-head matchups, but he's always a driver to be favored as one of the top qualifiers. And, you know, it's really cool that he's also driving that Type R Integra.
The only one in the series.
All right, so waiting for the starter to give us the thumbs up. And there we go. Matsuyama, let's see what he can do here. First run of the day. Nice initiation, pretty aggressive, big angle there. Back on throttle early. Nice line through that outside zone. Tight on that inside clip. This is looking like a pretty good run, and he's pushing out wide, trying to get out to that outside zone. Big angle there through the cutout. And then wrapping back around. A very aggressive, committed run overall. And a lot of people seem to be digging that. So Ryan, Matsuyama continues to impress there, and it begs the question, where is he going to fall in the overall scores?
Tied for my high line score. Good initiation, got the car to angle pretty quickly. Just a slight correction on the front wheels through there. Did a great job in outside zone 1. A good transition here, and you can see that if you're on the line that is currently the driest on this course, you can have great degrees of angle, you can be on throttle, committed really well, but if you deviate from that in any way is where you're going to run into trouble. You know, if you just get off of that common line, the ideal line, which has been run quite a bit by the better drivers, you're going to get into an area where there's a lot less grip. The car's going to lose grip probably on one end or the other of the car, and that's where you're going to end up with an understeer or oversteer.
So there it is. A 94 breaks in as our #1 qualifier with a massive score. 94, really impressing all the judges, and you can see why they're fully committed all the way through. Just a few points left on the table, and that is going to be hard to beat. So Matsuyama once again gets up there at the top, doing a great job in his S15 Sylvia. Now here is the winner of the Fuji event, Sheng Nian. A really tremendous moment, as he's had so many years to practice with his teammate Andrew Gray and spent time up there with Team Power Vehicles. Really came all together and was fighting for a championship. Didn't have the results last round that he wanted to stay in the fight with Mad Mike, but now let's see where he gets his start here on the first run of the day. Sheng knows for that left foot, really pushes hard on every single run. He's really improved his tandem abilities, comes flying through the cutout there. Big angle, and he'll hold the angle to be a mistake, but almost came to a stop there. And of course, you know, the judges are taking a look at what these runs would look like in the lead position and whether or not it's chaseable. So that will be a big mistake for Sheng, but it looks like it's going to be a scored run. Ryan, let's take it from the top here for Sheng Nian.
Yeah, good initiation. He might have ended up a little bit inside, but managed to get out to outside zone 1. Filled it pretty well. Inside clip 1. Could have had a little bit more angle there. Could have been wider on outside zone 2. Went pretty wide on outside zone 3, but over-rotated the car right there. Caused him to choke up a little bit. Slow down in an area where he's not supposed to. So the style judge will be getting him there on that. And that's just a testament to the lack of grip consistently through this track still.
All right, so a pretty decent score for Sheng Nian, all things considered, an 81. That should keep him in the qualifying position of the top 32. Our final 4 drivers are the drivers that have seen the best results so far this year, obviously, but it's been a back and forth battle. Oh, there's a big B right there. Yeah, very, very scary.
Don't let him get you.
Koichi Yamashita, Andrew Gray, Shinji Minowa, and Mad Mike Wadette have met each other many times throughout the year, and Yamashita and Minowa have tangled on a number of occasions in the Final Four and the Great 8 to many people's interest. And now we're going to find out whether or not they will see each other on the left-hand side of the bracket, right-hand side of the bracket, or be on opposite sides of the bracket here. The first driver up is Yamashita in that JZX 100 Mark II. You can see the aggressive driving here really shining through. Big angle there, but able to hold it back on throttle right through that outside zone. Yamashita continuing his streak so far, trying to make his imprint here. He's just outside that top 3. He can definitely play the role of spoiler in that working well team. So here we go. Let's take a look at the replay here from Koichi Yamashita.
Could have been deeper in outside zone 1. Didn't do a terrible job. Had a nice arc through there, but as you can see, he came in late. Left pretty much where it ended, but wasn't really as deep as he could have been. Good job on outside zone 2, really big angle. It might have hurt his ability to get out to outside zone 3 though, and then where Nian over-rotated, he managed to stay on throttle and get right through there without any problems at all, so did a good job. This B is really going to town on that TV screen. That's weird.
So an 86 for Koichi Yamashita. That'll definitely put him in the top 32. It also puts him in the top 5. So we're seeing a lot of the similar names qualifying well here. And everybody will know this driver. He is a multiple-time FD Japan champion. Didn't have the greatest start to the year, but came back and got on the podium last round in Okayabuki, and has an outside chance. He's not too far away from the leaders and could play a very big role here if he were to advance far enough and Minowa and Widat were to go out relatively early. This is Andrew Gray, Team Kazama and Power Vehicles, the leader of Team Power Vehicles. Initiates right at that second standing cone, back on the throttle early. He's always very consistent. Really gets way wide out there, almost going off course, but right on the edge of the rumble strips through that second outside zone. Mid to deep line there through the cutout. And Andrew Gray known for putting up massive plumes of smoke, and these drier conditions certainly favoring him here as he logs a pretty good run his first time around. So car number 100 does what he needs to do. Let's take a look here from initiation.
Yeah, Andrew Gray is known for these faster, high-speed tracks with his big car. He does a great job of putting the car where it needs to be. Just overstepped a little bit on outside zone 1, but right on the edge there of outside zone 2. Probably the deepest we've seen anybody in outside zone 3, consistently through there on the right line, and really tight on inside clip 2. So he's showing what he's able to do on one of these higher speed tracks where the size and weight of his car maybe isn't such a big factor.
So 83, some room for improvement for Andrew Gray, but it'll be enough to get him into tomorrow's competition. And that takes us to our next driver, the winner of last round, Shinji Minowa. A driver that is very well known through these parts, has been a leader in the FDJ series for a number of years, and having a big breakout this year. Mad Mike and Shinji in the finals at Okayabuki. Mad Mike not being able to complete the second run after a throttle cable broke and caused him to incomplete. Minowa goes on to take the win and was able to draw back some of those much needed points from Mad Mike. So Minowa, very early initiation, consistent, back on throttle there, pushing it out wide right to the edge and going a little bit on the rumble strips. Throttling through, lost a little bit of angle there, had to make an adjustment, gets back on it. Slight bobble there as well, so not the cleanest run from Minowa overall. And working maybe out a few gremlins there, or just the last time that he was on the track conditions were much, much different. So this may be the first time that he's had to deal with that. So Ryan, let's walk through this here with Minowa.
That's an excellent point. The fact that he was on a very wet track prior to right now, and he's jumping out there on a really dry track now. Did a good job in outside zone 1. The major problem started here at outside zone 2, where he did not rotate the car. He went really wide in outside zone 3, and then leaving that little connector road really had an issue with his angle and forward momentum slowing down significantly at that point. So he's going to have to clean that up for the next run.
All right, so as Minowa waits for the scores to drop, we will have our final driver here in run number 1, the current leader of the series, looking for his first championship. Mad Mike Widet put in a lot of effort over the past couple of years. It's a 77 for Minowa. Mad Mike put a lot of effort over the past couple of years. His goal was to take the championship here in FD Japan. He had that as his main priority, his main goal. He's been pretty much he has been the leader the entire year, with only the past few rounds. Starting in Fuji, he had a mechanical that kept him out of competition or knocked him out in the top 32. And then he had another mechanical in the finals. He was able to bring it back and not let the guys get too far out ahead. And so we are down to the final event with Mad Mike in the lead. It's the championship is his to lose. Here he is on the qualifying run. Big snap there from Mad Mike Widet. First time we've seen that. Pulls a little bit of angle out of the car. But you can see why he has done so well. Very aggressive driver in this vehicle. The vehicle is very well tuned. 1,000 horsepower easy, as he says. And not the 100-point qualifying run that we would expect to see given these conditions, but you can certainly see the potential there. He had that really snappy initiation. The rate to angle was there. A couple little mistakes, but walk us through the details and the nuance, Ryan.
Again, these drivers at the end of the qualifying lineup here, they're the ones that have had the longest time since a wet track, and now the track is significantly different than what they're used to. He had that correction from initiation outside zone 1, and I believe that threw him off for the rest of the track. You can see he was off outside zone 3 significantly, and I think it just ruined the flow for him throughout the entire course. So I believe he will have a more comfortable time on the next run, as he's just run through on a dry course, and will be more confident setting his car up for that.
All right, so Mad Mike Widet, our final driver here. Run number 1 of qualifying. Our 38 drivers have all made passes, and it's a 79 for Mad Mike. So he'll have a big ceiling of improvement to look at for run number 2. We will take our second 5-minute break right now. We'll come back, reset the drivers, and we'll do it all over again here at the final round of the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship at Okayama International Circuit. And there it is, 5 minutes burned away really quickly as we now go back to the start of the lineup. The second run of qualifying about to begin here. A leader so far by a large measure. No surprise there, Wataru Masuyama in the S15 from Master Garage. Kind of mediocre scores for our top three guys, an 83 for Andrew Gray, a 77 for Shinji Minowa, and a 79 from Mad Mike Wadette. Saw something similar to that in Okiabuki, so expect them now, assuming that we get the conditions in a consistent manner, that they will improve. This will be mostly dry for everybody this time around. Just a few little small areas where there's some patchiness, but it's mostly dry, it looks like. And this puts us back to the conditions from yesterday in practice. So it looks like we will go back to Hidehiko Tsujita
in what has to be one of the oldest cars here. Yes. Maybe the A85, but this is definitely a late 80s car here.
Yeah, the C33 Laurel. Now, a lot of pressure on him. His spin happened just after outside zone 2. So he is sitting on an incomplete.
But his last qualifying run was still very wet.
Yes.
So now it's very dry for him.
So he's got to go back and use that memory from yesterday. Pretty smooth there on initiation, back on throttle. Decent line through that outside zone. Inside clip transition to outside zone 2. A bit shallow there. He's going to take a midline through. Now, if he does get in a complete pull here, which it looks like he will, if he gets this last turn, he's probably going to need a mid-70s or higher. There are a lot of drivers in the bottom half of the lineup that are below the mid-70s. And we've got 38 drivers, 32 spots to fill. So let's see, Ryan, how Hidehiko Tsujita did here on run number 2.
Not a whole lot of commitment here. You could tell he was very tentative on the track, definitely due to what he dealt with on his last run, and he wasn't sure what the conditions were this time. So you can see his transitions are pretty controlled. He's not being as aggressive as he could be in terms of using his momentum throughout the course, and the angle isn't being used either, especially up the hill there towards inside clip 2 in the finish line. But it'll be he'll get a score, which is 76.
That might do it. That might just do it. So let's see if that holds. We've got the next handful of drivers here. The next 5 drivers all have below a 70 or lower or an incomplete, excuse me. So that's the wind in the background if you're wondering what that noise is. Teruaki Shimoda also had an incomplete. Let's see what he can do here on run number 2. Here we go. Bit of a late initiation, but flow looking pretty decent here. Shooting out to that outside zone. Is going to get real deep there, has to make an adjustment. You can see the car bouncing around a little bit on the rumble strips. Now transitioning, gets into that outside zone a little bit late. Low angle there through the cutout. Big angle, can he hold it? He cannot, and it's going to be back-to-back incompletes, and he's going to be out of competition. So Ryan, take us through this one.
It still looks like there's a bit of water that has run off just after outside zone 3, and if you go really deep into outside zone 3, the chance of dropping a tire in that still kind of wet area is very possible. So if you watch here, he goes very deep. You can see the water I'm talking about just past the wall right there, and he drove right through it, and as soon as he did, the car started to over-rotate. So that is a very dangerous position to be in at that point. And if you're going to drive over that wet area, and the problem here is that it's only the rear tires that go over the water, so it's not like the full car, you know, all 4 contact patches are driving over the water. It's just the rear tires, so you've got lots of grip up front, and all of a sudden you've got a lot less on the rear. You're already sideways, you're on throttle, the rear tires are spinning, so it's very easy to get that car to over-rotate in a situation like that, which unfortunately happened to him just now.
Well, it's a bummer of a situation there for Teruyaki Shimoda. I don't want to say teriyaki. I want to say it right. Teruyaki. I'm gonna
gonna have to ask Robbie about that one, because every now and again I butcher one. I feel like that's gonna be a butchered.
Maybe a Teruaki.
Yeah, I want to get that right. All right, so here we go. Moving on to our next driver, Manabu Fujinaka in the FD3S RX7. He had a 70 on run number 1. If you're keeping score at home. Let's see if he can improve on that. He probably is going to need it. Better initiation this time around, and you can see that smoke line stuck together from initiation through that section of the course. So a nice job there, staying on throttle. Looks like he's putting together a much better run, but he's pushing wide here. Very dangerous position. Wow. And that got sketchy for a second. He was moving right towards that tire pallet that is basically protecting the edge of the course there. And up until that point, Ryan, that was looking like a really good step up from that 70. But what happened there, leaving outside zone 2?
So he was very late in outside zone 1. If you look, he only got into it at the very end. He was very late on inside clip 1, very late on outside zone 2. Everything was just off right from the beginning. I think when he initiated, he probably went in too much too early. He should have initiated maybe with more speed, or just slightly later to get himself wider after initiation. And unfortunately, that where he positioned himself right away set the tone for the rest of the run. With the amount of momentum you have through there, you're going to get into a situation where everything you're supposed to do, every area on the track you're supposed to be in, is going to be delayed. And everything got delayed for him to the point where he wasn't able to get the car inside to that outside zone 3 area. He did the safe thing there by steering himself off, as opposed to going into the wall or the tire barriers, but now he's beached himself in the kitty litter, so he's going to be in there for a few minutes, no doubt.
And he's going to have to hope that 70 that he had on run number 1 is going to hold, and yes. I don't know if that's going to be the case. From about mid-pack on, it's nothing but 75s or higher for the most part, with a couple low 70s sprinkled in there. So it looks like that mid-70s cutoff is going to hold. Looks like we're getting a signal for a quick 2-minute and 30-second break to relieve our driver here out of the gravel pits. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back here to the action. We've got Fujinaka off course after that incomplete run. And as we said, Ryan, before the break, he's going to have to stand and hope that that 70 will hold as we move on to our next set of drivers here. Tomonori Tasaka, our next driver up. We've got these two consecutive AE85s. The teammates going back-to-back, both drivers with the 69, so them as well as a few others looking to improve here on run number 2. And waiting for the signal from our starter to get underway. If you're just joining us now, we have had the rain come and go. We're now into dry conditions. It's extremely windy, but there is no rain, so that's a good thing. Nice initiation there, very quick run up. You can see a very, very typical looking and sounding A85. Good transition there, big angle as he blasts through that center section, coming through the cutout. This might be an improvement on that 69. And finishing up there pretty strongly. Let's take a look at this again here. Car number 333, Tomonori Tasaka.
Yeah, pretty good run. I think he is going to improve on that 69 that he had previously. He was pretty committed throughout the course, on throttle, put the car in the right places. Outside zone 1 was done really well, right on the rumble strip all the way around. Inside clip 1, good job. Just dropped a couple of tires there on outside zone 2. Pretty good on outside zone 3. The car is settled, as you can see. The car rotates to angle and he maintains that angle. He's not correcting it. He's not having to add or take away any angle, so pretty settled looking car, and he looked pretty confident throughout the run.
And a solid improvement that should get him into tomorrow's competition in 81. An 11-point jump from that 69, so great job there, not succumbing to the pressure and getting himself out of elimination position. So now his teammate up, Kazuya Matsukawa in the twin AE85. A little bit different aesthetically, but overall pretty much the same vehicle. Here we go. Similar initiation, very fast. Going long here and making a mistake on that outside zone. The momentum just carrying him out, had to make adjustment, a little bit less angle there. So he may not improve on that 69. His teammate a bit more committed there and consistent overall on his run that got him an 81. So Kazuya Matsukawa has finished up his run. Looks like it will be a scored run, but he did have that mistake in outside zone 1 as well as a couple other things. But what did you notice, Ryan?
Very fast looking in the beginning here. He came in really hot at initiation. Unfortunately, it sent him off course. He was coming in to be a little too fast. Overshot there, put 2 or 3 wheels off, and from the rest of that, poor rotation there from inside clip 2. Sorry, inside clip 2 to outside zone 2. Could have done a better job. Dropped a tire there as well, coming up the hill. And did okay on inside clip 2, but not the most settled run, and could have done a lot better than that.
So moment of truth here for Matsukawa. He's got that 69. It's a 66. He's not going to improve. He's going to have to hope the 69 holds.
Again, these drivers that are kind of at the beginning of the qualifying session, they were running on a track previously that was wet.
Right.
The track has subsequently dried up. Now they're going out there with, you know, trying to remember what things were like yesterday. But again, the track could be different than it was yesterday. We just ran a whole practice and qualifying session in the wet, which would have changed the grip levels pretty considerably. Now we're trying to lay down some new rubber in qualifying here, but the conditions that they just drove in on their last lap is nothing like what they just dealt with now. So they're kind of guessing, how fast do I need to go in? How much space do I need to give myself after I initiate to get to that outside zone 1? What kind of momentum do I need? So there are a lot of questions there that are not answered until you actually get out on the track and throw the car sideways, unfortunately.
Whereas the drivers down more on the Mad Mike end are probably going to see, if this stays the same, mostly dry conditions.
Exactly.
So these guys are actually getting the worst of it. They had wetter conditions, now moving to drier conditions, and it's not what they saw in practice.
Yep.
So our next driver up, Sayori Iwasaki, she has a 62, so she's going to want to try to improve on that as well. She was able to pull off that 62 in the wetter conditions. Let's see what she can do here in the dry. Got a couple of track workers out, picking up a few pieces of, looks like, vehicle. And it looks like we are getting the course clear. And I think we are clear to send.
So this is our sole female driver competitor this round, is it not?
It is, yes. So a couple guys still running around doing what they're doing. It looks like now we're clear to send. There were some items.
They do have their helmets on, so they are being safe.
Yeah, they didn't bring out the Wicked Witches of the West brooms, though.
No, not this time. They only bring those out when they're really needed, you know. It's
right.
Something you want to keep hidden away.
All right, let's do this, cuz. Help me. There we go. Sayori Iwasaki, 62 on run number 1. What can she do on run number 2? Initiates right at that second standing cone. Looking pretty good so far, back on throttle. Gets out to that outside zone, a little bit short, but drawing a nice line here. Bit wide on that first inside clip. Pretty good job there through that second outside zone. And she is pushing wide to that third outside zone. I think this is going to be an improvement. How much so is going to be the question. And a good bit of driving there from Iwasaki, the lone female in a field of 37 male drivers. So looking pretty good there in her S13. The judge is taking a look. And Ryan, from your perspective here, given the 62 on the first run, did she improve?
Yeah, that was a good settled run. She was on throttle everywhere she needed to be. She used her angle to slow herself down at outside zone 2. Pretty deep in outside zone 3. Again, on throttle, back up the hill. The car looks settled. Look at those front wheels. Only a slight correction right there. She rotates the car to inside clip 2, but overall, good rotations. She was on throttle where she should be, and the car looks settled.
And the score pays off, respectively, a 77. That is a big jump as well, a 15-point jump for her. So a nice improvement there that may just be enough for her to get through into the top 32 tomorrow. So congratulations there. We'll move right along to our next driver who did perform very well, was the #1 qualifier for quite a while. He got an 81 early on. That's Tetsuya Iha in the crown. Now playing with some dry conditions. Slow roll initiation going off course, pushing for this wide line here. Gets out to that outside zone, over the rumble strips. Snaps it back around to that first inside clip. Now coming into that outside zone 2. Enters in the middle of the cutout. Gets through the crossover. Now shooting wide. He's going to have to take it tight on this final turn here. And it's an 81.
He drives this car like a much slower car. It looks really great the way he throws it around. He's very confident in the car, so you can see here as he runs up to initiation, just throws it in there, drops a tire or two in the dirt, but it doesn't affect the car at all. He's back on throttle, gets to outside zone 1, fills it fully, just drops the tire off the edge slightly, but very, very committed, it seems like. Pretty confident throughout the entire run. Put it in most of the right places. Might have gone a little bit wide there and had to lift slightly, but maintained momentum. Got himself up the hill with good angle. So it looked like he pushed it pretty hard. I think it's going to be an improvement over his 81. Kind of looks like. I love watching the way he drives that car. That big-bodied car. I believe that's a Crown. Not a small car. See it in the field. It's one of the bigger ones.
Montaigne making a claim here.
Let's see what happens.
It's going to go above 81.
Don't even look at me.
Hey, you were right.
More.
You were right.
I definitely gave him a bigger score online. Yeah, I wasn't wrong.
So an increase there from an 81 to an 82 should be enough to get him in. And go Kamiya.
Look how happy Go is.
Yeah, Go is hyped.
Happiest driver we have.
And I mean, it matches perfectly with the 2 exclamation point get drunk. And just ready to do it, man.
Don't get drunk, be drunk, it looks like.
Now, he had a 63 on run number 1, and he did have a few mistakes. So one thing that we noted is he was pretty aggressive. He looked like he had a lot of confidence. So let's see if he can manage better in these dry conditions. Wow, snaps to it, loses some pieces of his car, has a mistake. Big understeer, goes off course, and the over-aggression goes against him here. It'll be an incomplete, and he will have to sit on that 63. So was hoping for a better result from him after seeing some of the potential in run number 1, but pushed a little bit too hard. Looks like he broke off a rear taillight or something like that on one of those cones. But let's take a look at what happened here, Ryan.
I wonder what would happen if he hadn't done that double little flick thing that he did there. If you see that, he went in and then went in again. If he had just committed to the first one, he may have been on the right line to get around there. Unfortunately, he was very, very wide after initiation and ended up going 4 wheels off, unfortunately giving himself an incomplete. But it looked like he was going to be pretty aggressive there. It looked like it was going to be a fast and furious run, but unfortunately just went a little bit too hard, and I bet he's not smiling like that right now.
No.
He looks like a very happy-go-lucky fellow, though.
Now is not a good reason to promote getting drunk.
No.
But there's always another day. So he will be out of competition unless he can hold on to that 63. As Tomoyuki Kitashiba will be up next, another driver that looks like right on the threshold. He had a 70 in run number 1. Looks like he's been summoned up to the line there. This is the driver that is driving the only Lexus in the field this weekend. And it looks like we've got a little bit of debris still being collected down there on course. As soon as the red flags go away from the starters, we will be ready to go. And there he is, Tomoyuki Kitashiba. Run number 2, trying to improve on a 70. Let's see what he can do here. Dry conditions this time around. Seen a few other drivers go. Let's see what he learned here. Slow roll initiation on the e-brake. Can see it with the white rims. Back on throttle. Good angle here, shooting to this outside zone. It's going to come up a tiny bit short right at the edge there, but smooth line being drawn so far. Nice job on that second outside zone, pushing midline here. Good angle through the cutout, past the crossover, and through this final inside clip. So a pretty decent run overall for the Goodyear driver. I think it will improve that 70. Didn't fully get in out to outside zone 3, tiny bit short on outside zone 1, Ryan, but from your perspective as a line judge and just overall, what did you see here from Kitashiba?
I saw him being not as aggressive as I've seen him be before. Maybe he's being a little bit conservative, not knowing what the track conditions are going to be. So he could be a little more aggressive, especially on initiation. He had a long handbrake pull. You could tell that he wasn't quite at the speed that he needed to be, so he had to really hang on to that thing to get himself out wide around that rumble strip. But overall, a clean run, just not as aggressive as I guess as I expected from him. But line-wise, pretty clean. Same score I gave him for his first run from the line side, and he gets an 81. So he did increase his score.
So the other judges increasing their score in the angle and style category and boosting him up to an 81. So that should give him some good confidence for his overall performance and where he slots into the top 32. As now we are approaching the halfway point of the driver field in run number 2. And it's Takahito Morozumi in the S15, a 78 on run number 1. Straight line approach, e-brake, gets into it, back on throttle right there. You can see the car, a little bit of movement there. Nice smoke line, drawing that line to that outside zone. Trying to keep the forward momentum moving forward. Big angle to that inside clip. Transitions to that second outside zone. Comes off early, and he's on an inside line there. Going to pay the price through the cutout as he does not get out to that outside zone. Wraps around this final inside clip. So many drivers, almost everybody, not fully committed to that to the cutout going into the outside zone 3. Seemed to be a challenge for almost everyone. But with the 78, Morozumi already has a good score. And Ryan, let's get an evaluation here on run number 2.
Very lazy initiation, a lot of handbrake pulls. The car looked very slow throughout the course. It didn't look very aggressive. It didn't look very quick. It looked like he was being very controlling of all the movements. It looked like it was kind of syrupy, you know. It was moving, but not the fastest. Could have been much more aggressive. And even coming up the hill here, you can see there's definitely a lack of pace, a lack of momentum in the car. I don't know if it's just set up too loose and he ends up being very slow, or if he's just being very conservative.
Well, not going to improve his second score. The first score of a 78 is going to have to hold.
You can see a big hit there on style, 28 out of 40. So
the style judge saying nah. Shinichiro Saito, the next driver up, a 71. He's going to want to increase that as much as he possibly can.
It's Daigo's dad.
Yep.
Not really, I'm joking. Don't say that that's true.
Car number 328, second run out. Looks like there's something hanging down underneath his car. Kind of a conservative approach there on initiation, swinging to this outside zone, comes at it kind of at a tight angle, has to pull out of it. Tiny bit awkward there, but now as he transitions to that outside zone, lacking the angle through the cutout, not able to get out to that outside zone either. And a little wonky there on that final turn as well. So trying to better that 71. Let's see where he takes those hits overall from the line, angle, and style judge as we take a look at run number 2.
Another car that didn't look very well settled throughout the run. Could have definitely been more aggressive. You can see that he missed outside zone 1 quite a bit, came off early. The transition there didn't go to big angle, didn't go back to big angle either, so didn't really get him out to outside zone 3. Coming up the hill, you can see very low angle there, and correction in angle coming up towards inside clip 2 as well. So the car didn't really look settled, and you can see the results of that in his score.
So a 66, not going to cut it for an increase. He's going to have to hold on to that 71. So we're seeing just 1 or 2 drivers in the lower half of the field increase their scores and increase their chance of making it into the top 32. As we mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, 38 drivers vying for 32 spots. So we will see some drivers knocked out of competition altogether after today's event. Tomorrow, after we finish the broadcast today, that will be the final portion of the broadcast. Tomorrow we will run the full top 32 competition from beginning to end with a halftime break. All the times are already posted on the FD Japan and FD USA social accounts. You can find them there, and also the conversions of the times if you are not feeling up to it. Do it on your own. Kenji Yamada, car number 2 in the S15 Sylvia.
I'm curious what the Loud Dada Club is.
69 on run number 1.
Wow,
really picking up wind here. Thankfully, it's just wind. We are just kind of a little bit out of the grasp of the typhoon that has come in here. And yes, we do bring the typhoon every single time we come here, plus earthquakes and everything else. So we're not very healthy for Japan. Not sure what the delay is here. I'm not sure.
It's a wind delay.
Too much wind. It's called on part of wind.
We have a lot of languages on the live stream going on right now.
Yes, we got the Portuguese, we got the Brazilians, we've got the obviously English, we've got some Japanese, we've got some Chinese, we've got a bunch of different kinds. I've noticed.
So we have many different conversations going on.
Well, maybe not conversations in those languages, but people that have said I'm from here. Yes.
There are quite a few conversations I cannot read. It's a technical error with one of the computers that we are waiting for. It has nothing to do with the track or us. It is just a slight pause here for a technical fix so that we can be ready when the battle starts.
Yes. Oh, here we go. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. Shinichiro Saito, second run of the day and final, 69 on run number 1. Nice conservative initiation. This is a replay. Yeah, okay. So they're trying to fill space here. Yeah, you guys, if you're watching the U.S. broadcast, you should know that unlike the U.S. broadcast at home, where we pretty much know everything that's going on from top to bottom in the production side of things, we are limited here. We are getting information through a number of filters, so we try to report exactly what's going on, but a lot of times, we are also being waiting to be told.
I was just told, actually, and there was an error with one of the computers earlier, and one of the inputs from one of the judges was incorrect. So they are adjusting the score, and they're going to put up the new score once it has been fixed. So we are waiting for that at the moment. We apologize for the current pause in action, but here we go.
All right, Kenji Yamada. This is really him. Early initiation. Just kind of slides out of position there a little bit on the inside. He's pushing out wide here. Don't want to go off course. Just holds it. Interesting line approach there after initiation. Gets to that outside zone number 2. Mid-line through the cutout and the crossover section. And then right here, the final turn goes a little bit wide there. It may be enough to improve on that 69. It was a pretty decent initiation. It looked like he kind of went over the rumble strips on the inside and had a weird line to that outside zone 1, Ryan. So what happened there, and evaluate this run overall?
Yeah, it looked like he was pretty aggressive on his initiation, but what happened is he ended up going quite a bit inside, and you can see a lack of angle through there, but he got up on the rumble strip, got himself back to angle, was very, very late in outside zone number 1, and then did all right through the rest of the course despite being off of outside zone 1. Could have been deeper in outside zone 2 there, but didn't do a bad job considering the inside line he took from initiation to outside zone 1.
All right, so the last and final run there from Kenji Yamada. Waiting for scores to drop for him. As we said, he has a 69. It's a 73. Does improve by 4 points. And who knows, that may be enough. We'll take a look and evaluate some of these scores, but you may just be right there. Kazuki Hayashi, 78 in run number 1. Third member of Team Drew P. Starting off his second run. Here we go. Getting over to the middle of the course. Weight transfer, initiation, back on throttle, shooting out wide here. Good line being drawn there, pretty decent. Smoke line off and on there through that first inside clip. Much better line through that third outside zone. Still yet to see somebody completely get out to that wall, but a pretty solid run overall there for Kazuki Hayashi in the Toyota 86. Ryan, what happened here on the initiation, and where were some of the highs and lows for you?
This is starting to look like a really good dry run now. I guess the track is where it should be. Good angle, good commitment through most of the track. On throttle where he should be, slowing where he should be, using his angle to slow himself down there. Filling outside zone 2 pretty well. Outside zone 3 got out there pretty far. Could have been a little bit tighter, but overall did a pretty great run. The car looked settled and looked pretty aggressive.
Big improvement there, an 88. That will put him as one of the top qualifiers. So Hayashi looking impressive there on run number 2, backing it up. His 78 with an 88, so a 10-point overall improvement. The judges definitely respecting that. And we will move right along to our next driver, Ikao Saito, the other Saito. This is Saito's brother, Daigo Saito's brother. We have his dad, and we got his brother.
But no Daigo.
No Daigo. We're joking, everybody. We're joking. That is not true.
Related.
It's not true.
This is our attempt at humor, unfortunately.
All right, a 78 on his first run. A little bit of a late initiation. He pushes a bit wide there, but the line being drawn out to that outside zone keeps it on course. Forces him a bit wide there on that first inside clip. Out to that second outside zone. Mid-high line through the crossover, but not fully out to that third outside zone. Final turn here, wrapping around a little bit wide as he crosses the finish line there through that final inside clip. And taking a look at the replay here, and from what we've seen so far, looks like that may be an improvement there for Saito. Ryan, we'll hand it off to you and give us some analysis.
Definitely could have been more precise through his run. Looking at outside zone 1, being not all the way into outside zone 1 for the full zone, threw him off a little bit, and you can see that outside zone 2 was pretty well, outside zone 3 not deep enough. But with the dry conditions we have now, the conditions are right for a much more precise run than that. He was off some of the key areas quite a bit on the line. You can see that the line score suffered, but he did end up with an 80, so not overall too bad. Ended up getting, what, 2 more points in his previous run?
He's going to add 2 more points to his overall total. Had a 78 on run number 2, and that 80, as you just saw there on run number, 78 on run number 1 and 80 on run number 2. And so he will improve, and he will get himself in a good position outside mid-pack, and that will be good for the overall bracket setup tomorrow. Akihiko Hiroshima has already got a pretty good score of an 82, so just trying to build on that. Now it's about positioning for him, trying to find that good side of the bracket, give himself the best opportunity. Nice early initiation there. Let's watch the smoke line. It doesn't fully dissipate, so he's back on throttle early. A little bit shallow there in outside zone 1. Kind of a peculiar line there. Better back around to outside zone 2, but he's a bit tight there through the crossover. Again, not many drivers really filling that outside zone number 3, and he's a bit too tight on that final inside clip. Caused a little bit of damage to the front bumper. And Ryan, it looks like he started off pretty strong there. He had a nice aggressive initiation. It looked like the smoke line didn't really dissipate. He was able to get back on throttle pretty early, but then the second half of the course seemed to play a little bit of a problematic role.
Yes, it did. You are correct. Outside zone 1, you can see he's late, very, very late. Never really gets into it fully. And then he's off inside clip 1. Did a good job on outside zone 2. The car looks pretty settled through here, but he didn't get out to outside zone 3. And coming up the hill, he's got an error here, definitely. Hit that clip, lost a lot of angle, but managed to remain at angle somewhat over the finish line, so it won't be a 0, but he did get a 72. So he dropped 10 points.
So he's going to hold on to that 82 in run number 1. The 72 will play no role. There's no tiebreaker there. And we will move on to our next driver, who has got all the pressure on him on this run. He has a 0 or an incomplete on run number 1. This is Yoshimi Mori. He made a mistake right before outside zone 3. What? Something funny?
Nah, it's just in my head. It's my own little joke. He was taking a little nap in the driver's meeting yesterday, and we were trying to snap a picture of him.
Maybe that's why he got it incomplete.
It was yesterday. Today he was away.
And here we go. Through the chicane, down the run-up, he's going to choose, looks like it's going to be a weight transfer initiation. Initiates a little bit past that standing cone. Nice fluid initiation. Good angle here to that outside zone. So far, so good. He's got to try to better, probably a 75. Gets through the area where he had an incomplete the first time around. And now moving back around.
Much better looking run.
He does a much better job there. Let's take a look at this replay here, Ryan, and Let's think about what kind of score he's going to get here on run number 2.
Yeah, did a good job of getting to angle, maintaining angle through initiation to outside zone 1, through outside zone 1. He did a good job there. Only off slightly early, so I gave him a 9 out of 10 there on line because he was right on the edge of the track. Looked pretty solid through the rest of the course. The car looked settled. Didn't see any corrections on the steering wheel. He got a little bit too wide there before inside clip 1, and as he rotated, the car ended up kind of riding a little bit wide. But overall, pretty good run, 76. So you can see 5 points left on the line there for line, 8 points on angle, and 11 points for style. So ended up with, what did I say, 76.
76, so that's going to be right there. That might be enough to get him in. We are about halfway through now our 38 drivers that are competing this weekend. Our next driver up has a 74, so he is also right on that marker. Sayuji Yoshino in the HCR 32 Skyline. This is one of Ryan's favorite cars.
Yeah, 4-door 32.
Initiates, pretty good job there. Back on throttle early, stays off the e-brake for a long period of time. Outside zone 1, nice job there from start to finish. Trying to control that throttle as he gets to outside zone 2. Oh no, and the front end washes out. You heard the car pop, it washes out, and it's going to be an incomplete on run number 2. He's going to have to hold the 74.
That was looking like it was going to be a very high line score at the very least. The car was looking really settled. Everything looked great, especially outside zone 1. The way he filled that looked really, really settled through there. The car was right on the line all the way through, right where he needed to be. Look at the car placement there, right on the rumble strip from beginning to end. Beautifully done. Inside clip 1 wasn't too bad. Outside zone 2 right on the line, and then unfortunately right here, car straightens up, tries to get it back to angle again, and just won't go. So he drives up the hill, and it looks like the car isn't broken in a serious enough way that he can't drive it off the course. So maybe it was perhaps a misshift or something else that occurred there. There was a pop or two that occurred, but might not have been mechanical. Who knows? But the one thing I do know is he did not complete the course. So that is an incomplete, unfortunately, for him. But he has a 74 in his first run.
So our next driver up here is one of the top scorers of qualifying so far, an 87, Hiroki Vito. Making the team top tool guys extremely happy with his performance. Now it's all about, can he do better? Nice big angle there on initiation, aggressive driving, no punctuation in the smoke line whatsoever, so back on throttle early. This is starting off to be a phenomenal run here, and you can see the big difference. Massive angle to outside zone 3, great job there. Just misses that outside zone a little bit, but huge amount of commitment from Hiroki Vito, and that was a very dynamic run. We got to see a driver really push it in those dry conditions, Ryan, from initiation pretty much to the final turn there. We saw something new from Vito, and very impressed by both of his runs here, run 1 and run number 2.
Yeah, that was a great run. You can see even on the run up from our point of view, very, very fast, very committed all the way through the course. 10 out of 10 on outside zone 1 for line. Great job on his transitions here. Gets the car to outside zone 2 really, really well. Uses his angle to slow the car down. He got into outside zone 3 a little bit early, which caused him to miss part of it. But overall, this has to be the most aggressive run and the most precise run we've seen. He got a 28 out of 30 for line from me. So he's only a couple of spots where he was off a little bit. And 91.
Well, a nice job there. A 91. That's going to put him into second place right next to Matsuyama, who is still yet to come. A great job improving on his first score of an 87 and developing that consistency, and obviously the judges liking what they're seeing there. So great job by Vito overall. Up next, we have Toshihiro Kazama, who is one of our other drivers. The 3 remaining drivers that have, outside of him, there are 3 remaining drivers that have incompletes that can potentially play a role in shifting the driver field down depending on how they do. So this is a pressure cooker here for Kazama. His last and final opportunity to get into the top 32. A wide swing here. Initiates, gets right out to the edge of the course. Now back on throttle. Comes off outside zone 1 a bit early. Not the most dynamic run. Almost drops a tire there in outside zone 2. Trying to make his way through the cutout. A little bit of shakiness from the front end there. Goes over the rumble strip. Final turn. And through the finish line as he accelerates and finishes up his run. And taking just a preliminary look at the overall scores here, it does look like the cutoff is going to be right in the mid-70s once again. So Ryan, from your perspective here, how did he do in the line sign and overall?
He did a pretty good job, but the car was not settled through the entire course. There were areas, like especially right there, you could see him for some reason give a little yank on the steering wheel, and it caused him to come off outside zone 1, which he was doing a pretty good job on. Outside zone 3, you can see an area there where he adjusted his angle and the car came off the wall, where it looked like he was going to be doing pretty well, and then changed his line a little bit as he came through there. Coming up the hill, he had a slight correction as well. So like I said, the car didn't look settled, and you can see that in the angles judge and the style judge as well. So the style judge took away 13 points from him.
So not going to do it there, a 67, as our initial tentative cutoff is more like in the mid-70s from what we see here, but there still are a 1, 2, 3, 4 incompletes. So yeah, Kazama and then 4 other drivers have incompletes, and that is Iizuka, but not this driver. Benjamin Chiam has an 81. Straight line e-brake initiation, back on throttle pretty early there. You can see if you look at the smoke line, the drivers that are back on throttle, that line really does not dissipate. Aggressive driving here from Benjamin Chiam, improving throughout the season, pushing wide into outside zone 3, really getting out there, and a big risk maneuver that may pay off. But the front end washes out through the final turn there. What looked to be a very spectacular moment from Benjamin Chiam is not going to pay off. Ryan, that was probably the first driver we've seen really go deep into that third outside zone to the point of where you are kind of holding your breath there. So let's take a look at Benjamin Chiam's run here, run number 2.
This run was looking so fast and so aggressive and fun. Look at the way he's coming through here. No other driver's been through there at that speed yet. This is an area where I saw Robbie Nishida in my peripheral vision tense up as he went into that area. But right here, the car straightens up really significantly, and unfortunately he's going to get an incomplete for driving completely straight by inside clip 2, which is so unfortunate because that run was going to be one of the best that we had seen so far today. Going towards outside zone 2, outside zone 3, that takes a lot of courage, a lot of confidence, and he did a great job through there. Like I said, Robbie Nishida, I think, tensed up more than any of us did. I looked over there. But now we've got Kuzava coming up.
Car 938, Yusuke Kuzava, his second run. He has a 78 on run number 1. Here he is headed into outside zone 1, trying to drive nice, smooth line there. So far, so good. A little bit wide on that first inside clip. Fills that second outside zone. Middle line here. Not willing to go out wide. He's trying to get himself into tomorrow's competition. That's what he's concerned about. He already has a pretty decent score of a 78. Now trying to build on top of that. See if he can get into the 80s. So car 938, Yusuke Kuzava in the 86 is done for the day. Let's see where the score comes in.
Did a pretty good job here on outside zone 1. Dropped the tire slightly, but left it early. That's the bigger problem with that. Off inside clip 1. Good job on outside zone 2, though. Midline through outside zone 3. Could have been deeper there, but look at the car. Big angle. The car's settled. I love those tire stickers. They let us know exactly what's going on with the handbrake pulls or anything like that. And like I said earlier, it looks like a car from a little iPhone game I've been playing a lot lately that I'm slightly addicted to. But he got an 83 there on his second run. His first run he had a score of 78, so a 5-point improvement for him. So I think he's pretty much confident that he's going to be in top 32 tomorrow with a score of 83. Wouldn't you say, Ryan?
I would say so, yes. And the confidence definitely needs to follow from Yusuke Kuzava to this gentleman here, who is one of our incompletes. Kazuya Iizuka, a regular in the series. The pressure is on here. He has an incomplete. He initiates. Now he's back on throttle. Tries to swing out to outside zone 1. Decent line here. Now transitioning inside clip 1. Good job on outside zone 2. Mid to wide line there, but misses outside zone 3. And he is going to get a scored run with not too many big noticeable mistakes. A couple points left on the table for line, probably angle, and also on the commitment side, which is contained within style. But Ryan, give us an evaluation here. He's going to try to want to be higher than a 75.
Car looked pretty settled. He looked pretty confident throughout the run. Good initiation there. You can see him maintaining that angle all the way around. Slight bobble right there, but overall pretty good through outside zone 1. A little bit off of inside clip 1, but a good rotation there. Gets the car slowed where he's supposed to. Not all the way out to the wall, but deeper than quite a few in that area. And had a pretty decent line coming up the hill here. Could have been closer to inside clip 1 or 2, sorry, but overall pretty good run. Settled, confident looking, and he got himself an 80.
Great job there by Kazuya Iizuka. That should get him into tomorrow's competition.
Nice big jump from 0 to 80.
Yeah, the pressure cooker was on. He was able to get through it really well there, and we can see in the background Katsuhiro Ueo, who's already got a good score, another driver that is going to have no problem making it into competition. Now it's just about whether or not he can get the best positioning possible in the bracket. He's got an 85 as he heads to the line in his S15. Ueo there, you can see the photo on the right hand side. That is his conservative "I am here to do my job" photo. When the score one comes up, you take a look at that. Is my I'm
here to party.
Here to party photo. Very exciting. Ueo, nice initiation there, big angle, and again another driver where you can see the smoke line does not really dissipate. Great job through that first outside zone. You can see the aggression in the vehicle. Very fast, nice angle. Outside zone 3, pretty good job there. Nice wide line, big angle, leaving the crossover. And this was an impressive run. Wow, keeping the angle, pushing through the finish line, taking advantage of his time here out alone by himself at Okayama International Circuit. So Ueo, a veteran in the sport, still continuing to impress, Ryan.
That was fun to watch. Look at that initiation, and he maintained that angle from initiation through outside zone 1 that he filled really, really well. Tight on inside clip 1. Good job on outside zone 2. He's back on throttle right away. Like I said earlier about the previous driver, not all the way deep in outside zone 3, but deeper than a lot of the drivers. And just look at the angle all the way up the hill. I think that's the most angle I've seen anybody have past the finish line there. He's definitely driving like his old self, looking great. And there's the "I'm here to party" look with the blown out hair, and that gives him the high score of a party animal that he looks like.
So a 91 there for Katsuhiro Ueo. A very solid day, performing both run 1 and run 2, an 85 and a 91 respectively. And so he will be able to go back to the paddock and relax and get ready to tomorrow, because he is one of your top qualifiers here today. Still our top score so far sits with Wataru Masuyama, a 94, our highest score of the day. And next to that you have Ueo with a 91, and also another 91 with, who is it? No, that was our only 91. Okay, so then we got a couple 86s and 87s. This is a must-perform run for Daichi Oshiro. He's got an incomplete. He's got to get through this. Does not fill that first outside zone very well. A little bit shallow on that second outside zone. Through the crossover there. Still struggling for a little bit of that fluidity. And the settling of the vehicle just not there overall. Let's take a look at the replay here and see if we can dissect this run. It will be scored, but will it be enough for the top 32?
If you compare this run to the run of Ueo just before it, you're going to see a big difference in commitment. You're going to see a big difference in momentum. You're going to see a big difference in filling of zones, rotations, aggressiveness, all of those things. Now Oshiro's, like you said, coming off of a 0, so he's trying to get himself a score, but you can see areas where he's over-rotating and slowing down in areas where he shouldn't be. The car doesn't look super settled. He doesn't look very confident throughout the run, so his line score definitely suffered there, and you can see that not too bad from the other judges though. 26 out of 40 on style though, so 14 points left on the table.
So it's a 73. It may not be enough. We'll wait for the official call from all of the scores as the scores are collated and the cutoff is derived. But this is another incomplete run. This is Koichi Yamada, now car number 19, the S15. Made a big mistake, did not pull it off in run number 1, so the pressure is on here as well. Snaps to initiation, gets through that first section of the course. Now shooting over to that outside zone, decent job there. Off throttle a little bit to that first inside clip. Low angle through that second outside zone. Struggles there, tries to get back on it now. And it looks like he will get a scored run, but will it be enough? You can definitely tell the difference between the high scored run of a 91 from Ueo and some of the other scores when you see him back to back. Just the speed, the aggressiveness, the flick on initiation, the fluidity, the settling of the car. So Ryan, let's get some analysis here on Amagai run number 2.
I was really excited when he threw the car, flicked it to get himself to angle at initiation, but it looked like the rotation wasn't as quick or aggressive as I was hoping for, and the whole run looked like he was a little bit more conservative that he should have been or could have been in this run. He managed to hit some of the points. He got to a couple of the right areas on the track, but just didn't look as precise or aggressive as he could have been throughout the course. So leaving a couple of points on the board.
So not the most impressive score there for Amagai, a 70. And that's a fingernail biter, waiting for the official word on where the cutoff is going to be. But I mean, looking at my calculations here, it's at least in the mid 70s. Masakazu Hashi, our next driver up, car 202. He gets a thumbs up to head out for his second run.
He's sitting on a 69 right now.
So trying to improve here. You can see not really getting that rate to angle. Does get back on the throttle pretty early. Gets out to that outside zone. Almost goes off course, but gets through that zone. And inside clip 1. A little bit shallow there on outside zone 2. Front end washes out. He has to reinitiate. That's going to be real close to an incomplete. So the front end kind of washes out through the crossover, and he kind of has to reinitiate there. And if it was too noticeable, the judges may give that an incomplete. 69 on run number 1 is probably not going to do it. So Ryan, walk us through here. Obviously the big mistake was what looked to be a reinitiation.
Yeah, he's walking a fine line here. If you watch the way the car rotates here, he drives pretty straight there and then kicks the car back to angle. So it looks like we're going to be getting an incomplete, getting a big head shake from the other judges, and that'll be an incomplete, unfortunately, for him.
So if the other, at least one judge is giving it an incomplete, it's not going to be more than a 69. All three give it incomplete. He's going to have to hold on the 69. Either way, he's got to work with the 69, and that may not be enough. So we will wait the official call here for Hashi. And it is across the board and incomplete. So tough break there, making that big of a mistake towards the final approach. And we will move on to our next driver. No problems here. Daisuke Hara. Good ride team, Team Pro Passion. S15, 86 on run number 1. Let's see if he can improve here. Nice initiation there. He's back on throttle early. Good angle, but goes a little bit wide there. Hits that first standing cone on the outside zone 1. Big angle, not going to hold it. Back, come on, get back on. Oh, and there you go. Not enough. He's going to have to hold the 86. So he will have to hold on that 86 after the transition from outside zone 2 into that final crossover leading to outside zone 3. Looks like he just had too much angle in the car, Ryan.
Yeah, not a bad score to have to hang on to, though. He could have done a good job here, I think. The run looked pretty good. He did go a little bit off on outside zone 1, unfortunately. He had 2 tires beyond the rumble strip. And inside clip 1, not too bad, but just an over-rotation here. Just a little too aggressive on that transition. It's an area where we tell them you're supposed to use your angle to slow yourself down, try to get the car through inside clip 1 on throttle, then rotate the car at outside zone 2, get the car slowed down, and then back on throttle through the rest. And sometimes in a situation like that where you're trying to throw a big angle that'll help slow you down, the car just gets away from you and it over-rotates like it did there.
Inome Takashi, our next driver up in another S15. He's got the 71, Ryan. It's going to be right there. Looking to improve here as we wait for the thumbs up from the starter. Here he goes, leaving the chicane. Last run of the day. Big, wide, sweeping turn. Initiates, drops a tire there, a little bit of angle, a slight flub there. Back on throttle to outside zone 1. Better job there, just getting that left rear wheel on the outside of those rumble strips. A little bit of dirt drop there on outside zone 2. Nice aggression through the outside zone 3 area, though he does come up a little bit short. Tries to snap it back around to that final inside clip and through the finish line, and he may improve on the 71. Car number 88 fighting for every possible point. A big sweeping turn on initiation here, Ryan, and walk us through this one.
Yeah, that tire drop affected his line, it affected his angle, but he managed to get back on throttle, did an okay job through outside zone 1. Good transition here inside clip 1, but could have been a little bit quicker on that transition. Got the car rotated into the right area of the track, but just could have been quicker on the rate of rotation. And okay through the last portion of the course, up the hill, a little bit off of inside clip 1, but not the most settled run and not the most precise run either. So he ends up with a 77, which is an improvement of 6 points over his previous score. So overall for him, not too bad, and 77 may be enough to get him into the show for tomorrow.
All right, so 77 as you say there, and we are now in the top 10 remaining drivers. Yoshitaka Agony, pressure is on for him. He's got a 69. Snaps to it on the initiation, front end trying to wash out on him, and now he's back on throttle, gets out to that outside zone, tries to draw a smooth line, comes out of outside zone 1 a little bit early. Lacking the angle through inside clip 1, better on outside zone 2. Much wider push to outside zone 3. Can he finish strong? Transition's a little bit weird there, almost ends up getting a bit too tight on that inside clip. And he's got that 69, Ryan, so he's going to want to try to get north of 75 if possible. Let's take a look here from initiation and see how Agony did.
Very odd run that he had here. It looked very conservative. It looked like he was not pushing as hard as he could. He was holding back a lot. If you look at the way that he approached outside zone 1, his rotations there, he's slowing down aggressively in areas except on outside zone 3, oddly enough. He did a great job there, but right here, very odd transition. You can see the car is very controlled in terms of his angle and his rotations. He looks extremely conservative. I don't know if there's a mechanical thing there, but it doesn't look like the typical Agony that we've seen and known in the past.
Well, he will get a bump in score. It's a 76, so he gets himself out a little bit of danger, but it may not be enough. And we will move right along to our next driver, Tadahiro Fukada, who had a solid start in run number 1. The JZX 100 Mark II driver logged in 85. And so now for him, run number 2 is all about positioning as he awaits the thumbs up from the starter. There he goes. Out of the chicane, down the front straight. We'll see his initiation here, his approach. Midline, looks like it's going to be a weight transfer. It's a conservative initiation, but he's back on throttle early. He's pointing that car towards that outside zone. Beautiful job filling that first outside zone. Good fluid motion to that first inside clip. Gets to that second outside zone. Wider line here through outside zone 3. And you can see the consistency paying off here for Fukada. The Tanabe SSR Team Dunlop driver, 2 runs back-to-back, very consistent. Nothing explosive that would maybe get him as a top qualifier, but the consistency at the higher level is certainly apparent here from Fukada Ryan.
Yeah, good job from Fukada here. Very settled looking car throughout the run. Fills outside zone 1 really, really well. Just barely goes over the rumble strip with that one tire. Good rotation to outside zone 2 here. Again, the car looks settled. Goes over that bump going into the connector road. Settled through here as well. Could have been slightly deeper in outside zone 2, but very, very tidy run. You know, he did a very good job through there. Not the most outlandish or aggressive run, but I think he's ticking all the right boxes. He's being pretty... what's the word I'm looking for here? Very Osbo-esque. He's doing everything that he needs to do, but he's not overdoing it.
Well, that strategy will pay off. He gets 3 additional points and gets an 88. Here's our next driver up, number 57, Kazuya Matsukawa. A relatively low score for him, a 74. So he's going to want to improve on that here. The S13 driver heads down. Nice flick initiation, back on throttle pretty early there. Great start. Gets to outside zone 1. Nice job there overall. Very tight to that inside clip. Good angle to outside zone 2. Still a bit too tight there through that outside zone 3 crossover section. He's leaving a lot of points on the table there in that section of the course, especially with line and commitment. Well, let's take a look here and see if that betters a 74. I think it will, Ryan, but he's still not filling that 3rd outside zone really, and that will have an effect on your score in particular.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest part of the run that he left on the table, you know, points-wise. Came off of outside zone 1 a little bit early, did a great job on inside clip 1 and outside zone 2, but outside zone 3 was non-existent for him. He was way on the inside, didn't get out there wide at all. The car looked settled, and he looked like he was putting a lot of effort into making the rotation smooth and pretty quick, but just wasn't able to position the car where it needed to be.
All right, so it is an improvement for him in 81. And he'll go back and evaluate his 2 qualifying runs, figure out what he needs to do to improve tomorrow, especially in the ever-important head-to-head matchups. Depending on where in the world you're joining us. Local time, we kick off tomorrow at 9:10 a.m. Japan Standard Time. We've done the conversions for you and everything on our social accounts. You can find them on both FD Japan and FDUS Instagram and Facebook page. Here's Miyoshi, known to be a high qualifying driver. He struggled on the initiation the last time. Same kind of thing. A little bit less angle there on outside zone 1, though the line was pretty decent. He had an incomplete, so the pressure is on. Car does not seem settled, Ryan. This does not look like the typical Miyoshi that we saw at Okiabuki, but he will get a scored run. The question is whether or not it will be enough.
Right from initiation, it looked like he wasn't 100% comfortable. Like you said, he's not looking like his normal self. You can see here, as he comes outside zone 1, he's inside a little bit too much right now. Gets to outside zone 1 very, very late, and off inside clip 1 a little bit. The car doesn't look like it's rotating the way that I'm used to seeing him rotate the car. Outside zone 3, you can see a big angle correction there. I don't know if he was afraid that the car was going to hit the wall and took a little bit of angle out, or if it was just an issue with the rotation going out to that section of the track. But again, not looking as comfortable as he's been in the past.
All right, so it's a 78 there for Hayato Miyoshi. Should be enough, and gets through by the slimmest of margins potentially. And here he is, your #1 qualifier so far. The 94 has stood the test of time between the final runs of run #1 and all of the #2 runs. A 94 for Wataru Masuyama. Let's see what he does here on run #2. If he pushes even further, big angle on initiation, back on throttle pretty much immediately. Beautifully fills that first outside zone, and you can tell a big difference here in some of the driving that we're seeing. And he's pushing out to outside zone 3. Another incredible run by Wataru Masuyama. And Ryan, it's just so clear when a driver locks in like that and has beautiful fluidity from transition to transition. He's committed. There's smoke all over from start to finish, especially on initiation. He picks up right away. No wonder he got the 94 in run number 1.
Yeah, this is going to be another high-scoring run. Great initiation. Look at that rate to angle, and then he maintains that angle. No corrections on the front wheels. Fills outside zone 1 beautifully, right on the rumble strip. Transitions here to inside clip 1. Great transition to outside zone 2. Good angle, and maintains that all the way through. Nice and close on outside zone 3, which not a lot of drivers are doing. Pretty much none, really. Only 1 or 2 others. And then nice and close on, nice and tight to inside clip 2. Coming up to the finish line, like you said, very fluid, very committed, very settled looking car.
Wow.
There's the result.
That is one of the highest scores that we've seen all year in both series, a 97. That is James Dean, Frederick Osbo numbers being thrown up there. So Wataru Masuyama continues to be an impressive force in the qualifying realm, and now just needs to transition that into the head-to-head matchups as he is blowing everybody out of the water here with his first and second run, a 94 and a 97 respectively. So building on the momentum from the run number 1, and really showing everybody a good bit of driving here in run number 2. All right, so next driver up, Shang Nian. It's got
everyone's favorite little Singaporean.
Yes, everybody's favorite young Singaporean. I'll just say the exact same thing that you said.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see how he does. He has an 81 on run number 1. Shang was in the hunt for a championship. Front end almost washes out there. Very aggressive driver. He's lead foot all the way. He's really fun to watch in head-to-head matchups. And it looks like he is not really going to improve on his second run. Gets a bit out of whack in a number of different places on the course. And not sure exactly what's going on there.
Might be a mechanical problem that he's having. It looked like a couple of areas there. He was at angle, and then angle was pulled out of the car. I don't know if it's a mechanical issue. Car did not look very settled at all. He didn't look very confident in what the car could and would do. You can see there quite a few corrections. I don't know if that was a result of maybe thinking he was going to go off the track. But right here's another one where the car straightened quite a bit, but he was able to get back to angle without reinitiating. And looks like I'm getting a 0 call from everybody else. No, I'm okay. Yeah. Hey, we're looking at what happened with the front end of the car there as he got himself through that kind of cut through the 2 sections of the track. The car went straight, and the guys are indicating that there was an opposite drift through there, a significant straighten. So we're going to go with a 0 through that section.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, what was blocking it was the tower there.
Gotcha.
So good catch there. A big mistake from Shang. He's going to have to hold on that 81. And outside zone 3, Ryan, the crossover, the cutout area seems to be the hardest part of this course, at least at this particular point. Why are you trying to mark my pants?
No, I'm trying to slap your hand so you stop doing it. It looks like that's going to be an area that's really going to differentiate the lead drivers in tandem tomorrow. The drivers that are in the lead position able to fill that zone are going to be at a clear advantage over the ones that are not. So that's going to be an area that we already said in the meeting is a big area for commitment, and we're going to see that tomorrow in competition.
Yamashita gets a good start there. A little bit of a late initiation, but he was very aggressive with it. Big smoke line. Nice job on outside zone 1. Tight on that inside clip. Big angle here. Oh, he opts for that inside line. Another driver leaving some points on the table on outside zone 3. And I have to imagine that is going to be something we're going to come back to tomorrow in head-to-head competition, because outside zone 3 is very much a way where the lead driver can get away if they do not take the proper line. And that always plays a role in your guys' evaluation of the lead driver's goals. So Ryan, let's take a look here at Yamashita here in run number 2.
Yeah, it was a weird line he took from outside zone 2 to outside zone 3, and we're going to have a look at that again here on the replay, but decent job on outside zone 1. As you watch here, as soon as he got to the end of outside zone 2, it just shot straight in. It didn't draw a nice arc from zone 2 to zone 3. It gripped up in a weird way and shot him straight inside, made him kind of miss outside zone 3, and gave him a weird pointed line through there as opposed opposed to a nice arc. So not ideal through that section, but I don't think it's going to affect overall. He got an 87, which is a 1-point increase over his last score.
And the biggest drop in points was from the line side, Ryan. So, and that is a 5-point section, so that obviously makes sense there. And the deduction taking place in that section of the course. Our top 3 drivers, this is it. The final runs to accumulate as many points as you can and get the best positioning as you can. Andrew Gray, 3rd place right now.
He knows it's dry now. He can be as crazy as he needs to be.
Kind of slow rolls the initiation back on throttle relatively early, but goes way too long there and just did not get the timing right. And perhaps Andrew was expecting the surface to be a little bit different there. It looked like he did initiate a little bit late, and he was back on throttle late. And maybe that was just pushing too hard from the start line all the way down to initiation.
Or maybe I jinxed him. That was my fault. I'm sorry. It's my Canadianness coming out with my apologies. So as you see here, big initiation, but when, I don't know if, like you said, the grip just wasn't there that he was expecting, but he ended up going beyond outside zone 1 altogether and got an incomplete there for going 4 wheels off into the gravel. So that'll be him resting on his 83 from run 1.
So Andrew Gray, a very uncommon incomplete for him on run number 2. He will not better the 83 that he had in run number 1, and we will move quickly on to our next driver. Just about 19 points outside of the leader, Mad Mike Widet. This is Shinji Minowa. He has the most plausible mathematical chance of taking out Mad Mike, only being 19 points away, roughly. Actually, I don't want roughly. I want perfectly. 314 to 292.
8 and 14.
So 20 some odd points, more than 20 points. That means he needs 2 positions ahead, depending on how they qualify. Something like that.
That's 22 points, right?
292, 392. Yeah, 8. Yeah. Can't do math right now.
I know. Here we go. Shinji's coming.
All right, here we go. Shinji Minowa. Slow roll initiation, gets that left rear tire off of the course for a second there, but the line looks pretty good. Just getting out to those rumble strips. Transitioning back around. Does get a little bit deeper into that 3rd outside zone. And will he improve? I think he will, because it was a 77 on run number 1. Only room for improvement here, given the skill level that he has. So let's take a look at this, Ryan.
Dropped the tire on initiation. Nothing too serious, though. Gets himself through outside zone 1. Could have been deeper earlier in it, but gets nice and deep through the majority of it. Pretty good on inside clip 1. Good rotation right on that line at outside zone 2. Outside zone 3, looks like he choked up just a little bit. He was a little bit worried he was going to hit that wall. Had he been a little bit more confident in the car positioning and where he was, he could have gotten on throttle and done a very good job through outside zone number 3. But his line's going to suffer slightly through there, only a point or 2, and I'm sure Style did as well for his not being committed all the way through there. But he did get an improvement from a 77 up to an 83.
And going back to the numbers for the championship, it's 22-point spread for Mad Mike Widet to Shinji Minowa, which means
that's what I said.
Qualifying is extremely important here, because there are points to be had in qualifying, and if Minowa could get the qualifying points more than 2 ahead of Mad Mike Widet, he would only need to finish a position ahead of him in order to tie for the championship. So if Mike comes out and throws down a massive qualifying run here, something along the lines of a 1st or a 2nd place, he may give himself more protection depending on where they line up against each other, if they do at all. Big snappy initiation from Mad Mike Widet, one of the bigger ones we've seen so far. Gets back on throttle. A little bit of a tighter line there, but blasting through the course. Tight on that 1st inside clip. Big angle to that 2nd outside zone. Pushing deep here. Is this going to be as high as Matsuyama? Did it have enough impact and overall commitment to get up there? It was definitely a much better run from run 1 to run number 2. Was it enough to beat Matsuyama? Remember, Matsuyama had a 94 and a 97, And we just talked about how important this qualifying run is to give more separation between Mad Mike and Minowa. So Ryan, how did Mike do here overall?
Unfortunately, outside zone 1, he lost a lot of points there. He did not fill it properly. I'm sure the angle judge is also going to get him at inside clip number 1. And outside zone 2, he did a pretty good job, and 3 for that matter. But there were definitely some areas where he lost some points that are not going to allow him to get the first or second place qualifying position, I don't think, looking at it from my position. And you can see there he gets an 85. So he does beat Shinji Minowa by 2 points. But overall, he will not be in the top 2 or 3 qualifying positions, unfortunately.
So Masuyama Wataru is your number 1 qualifier unofficially. Mad Mike slots in at an 85. It looks like that's going to be very close to Minowa. So Minowa is still going to be 22 points out, and that may be enough for Mad Mike to secure the championship in one of the earlier rounds, depending on how these things all come together. So for tomorrow, all of the times are posted on the FD social channels. Ryan, we're going to be coming back live at 9:10 a.m. Japan Standard Time. That's going to be kicking off main competition, and then we'll be back after a halftime break at 13:30, which is 1:30 for you non-military folks, for the top 16 opening ceremonies, where we will crown the 2018 Formula Drift Japan champion, potentially in one of the earlier rounds, depending on how things all slot out. And it's looking forward to be an amazing day of competition. The weather has cleared up, and we're ready to have a good time, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Thank you for watching, everybody. Go to bed, and we will see you tomorrow.